Talksport's commentary team of Ian Danter and former Arsenal winger Perry Groves are with me here at a very raucous Portman Road. Tributes being led to Sir Bobby Robson, who of course managed and was a great servant for both of these clubs. First time they're meeting in 7 years, when they both met in the Championship, and of course in the Premier League the last time they met was back in 2002. That game finished 2-2, so hopefully we're in for the same kind of cracker. This upturn in form, Perry, has been fascinating from Newcastle's point of view. They're into the League Cup semi-finals as well after that 3-1 win over Brentford, a 4-0 win over Leicester in the Premier League last weekend as well. It feels like they're on an upward trajectory, but why? Why are they turning it now?
I think there's been a little change in the midfield, although they're playing 4-3-3. Sandro Tonali has gone central and he plays that little bit deeper, and I think he links it together a little bit better. You know, they've got better patterns there. They've only won 3 of the last 12 Premier League games, and I was at the Nottingham Forest game on the Sunday where they're 1-0 down, they pulled it back, they won 3-1, they changed Joe Linton and Anthony Gordon over as wingers, and they were absolutely on in the second half. They were the Newcastle that we see, you know, the athletic Newcastle, you know, putting teams under pressure, actually outrunning teams. And I thought then that they'd turned it around. But then they go back to be the inconsistent Newcastle. I said before, you know, sometimes they fancy it, sometimes they don't. I think you mentioned there, obviously with the big win over Brentford in the quarter-final of the League Cup, semi-final, 2 legs come up against Arsenal. So these Newcastle players, now, you should have an incentive anyway when you're playing in the Premier League, but now they've got this incentive of being in the team for those 2 semi-finals. They're 2 games away from Wembley. Newcastle haven't won a trophy since 1955. So I think Eddie Howe, you can just tell in his interview there, and even in his voice, you know, he's got that optimism where he thinks this is a good time for us to start getting that consistency, what they've been craving all season.
Well, they've been there before. They were in the final just a couple of years ago, weren't they? And it just didn't work out for them. Had a tremendous support at Wembley. Be fantastic. Obviously not for you as an Arsenal fan, if they could get there.
Football will be the winner phase,
if they could get there again. But they've got a really tough few games coming up this month. Villa, Manchester United and Spurs, their next 3 after this one. All teams.
Well, one of them is difficult. Yeah. The other 2.
Okay, I knew you were going to say that. All inconsistent, I would say. You know?
That's exactly how Newcastle are. Aston Villa obviously getting their really good win against Man City today. They look like that they're getting that consistency, but Manchester United are in that transitional period. With Spurs, you don't know. There is a box of chocolates, isn't it? You don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Because that game could be 4-2 to Newcastle, 5-3 to Spurs. So for neutral, it would be brilliant to watch. But I actually, when they're at it, I like watching Newcastle play, because I say that they are high energy, and up front with Isak, obviously they've got one of the best centre forwards in the Premier League.
Yeah, terrible away form though. Just 2 away wins all season, which is not enough if they want to get into Europe again next season. They've got to improve that. How do they beat this Ipswich side today?
I think they've got to be very, very good in possession. I think they've got to make sure they don't make silly mistakes. They know, Eddie Howe will know that Ipswich are going to come and press you. They're going to come and, you know, try and close down in the final third. So if it was me personally, I'd be telling Dubravka, the Newcastle goalkeeper, look, don't take any unnecessary mistakes in their first 10-15 minutes. And with Cher and Byrne, obviously they'll want to split and push the 2 fullbacks, Livramento and Hall. I'd be saying just for that first, 10-15 minutes, let's keep our shape. I wouldn't be pushing Livramento and Lewis Hall too far up the pitch, because when they're in position they can play basically as wing backs. You want to ease your way into the game, and you want to quieten the crowd. If you can make it so it's nice and quiet or a little bit restless, then as an away team you've done your job in that first 15 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can hear that noise straight away, can't you? The referee Stuart Atwell takes the match ball off the Premier League plinth as both sets of players walk out here at Portman Road, led by their respective captains, Ipswich's Sam Morsey and Newcastle United's Bruno Guimaraes. So Bobby Robson's statues stand proud outside both St James's Park and here at Portman Road, and today the man that served both these clubs so well and brought so much success adorns the front of the matchday programme wearing a half and half scarf. Make of that what you will. I think for the one time only today, that is most certainly okay. sit back and enjoy this one. I'm very much looking forward to it in the company of former Arsenal winger Perry Groves and your match commentator here on Talksport 2, Ian Danter.
Thank you, Faye, and a very good afternoon to you wherever and however you're listening to Talksport 2. Well, a chance to temporarily at least get out of the bottom three for Ipswich Town this afternoon, with Leicester not playing until tomorrow. To do that, a first home win of the season is required against a Newcastle side buoyed by reaching the League Cup semi-finals in midweek, and they are only 5 points off a Champions League spot, despite starting the day down in 12th position. The last gasp win at Wolves a week ago may well give Kieran McKenna's men a boost coming into this one against an opponent they've rarely got the better of in recent years, although they did win 3-1 here against the Magpies in the Championship 7 years ago, the last time that the Geordies were here. Jamal Lascelles was in the Newcastle side that day. He's still in the squad, although currently sidelined to the new year through injury. Liam Delap is sidelined through suspension today for the hosts. That's a blow, as he's their top scorer with 6. His place goes to Sammy Smodics in Ipswich's only change. Also missing out by reaching the 5 booking threshold today is Joe Linton for Newcastle, and he's replaced by Joe Willock by Eddie Howe in the away side starting 11. So for Ipswich Town, Ori Muric in goal, Harry Clark, Dara O'Shea, Cameron Burgess and Leif Davis in a back four, Sam Morsey, Jens Kuyuste holding in midfield, Wes Burns, Connor Chaplin, Amari Hutchinson and then Sammy Smodics in attack. For Newcastle, Martin Dubravka in goal, back four of Tino Livramento, Fabian Scher, Dan Byrne and Lewis Hall, Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Willock are the 3 in midfield, with Jacob Murphy and Anthony Gordon either side of Alexander Isak in attack. Stuart Atwell is today's referee. We are sat in the East of England cooperative stand here at Portman Road. The Sir Alf Ramsey stand to our right, the Bobby Robson stand to our left, and the travelling Geordie faithful in the corner of the Cobbold stand that's opposite our commentary position. And it's a beautifully appointed commentary position that we have here. Things have changed at Portman Road since promotion. We're at the bottom of the top tier of the East of England cooperative stand, and I don't think there are many better views for us to bring you exclusive commentaries from than the one we've got here today, Perry Groves.
Aren't you missing the posts and the pillars? No? You're not longing for them, having to keep elbowing me out the way when the ball goes into the 18-yard box.
So Ipswich will be in their traditional blue shirts and socks with white shorts. Newcastle wearing that chain strip of white shirts and socks with green shorts and green trim around the shoulders of the shirts. Anthony Gordon is the captain, it seems, although no, it's Bruno Guimaraes who's got the armband. I thought that was a bit strange for a moment. There was a yellow fleck on the side of Anthony Gordon's shirt, but it's just a bit of extra advertising squeezed onto the Newcastle shirt. So it's been a busy old day already. Aston Villa beating Manchester City 2-1 in the Talksport early game to move above Manchester City in the Premier League table. Further reaction to that later, but it's all about Portman Road and whether Ipswich can get that precious first home win. And Ipswich are attacking from left to right as we look, so Ipswich heading for the Sir Alf Ramsey stand to our right in this first half. And it's cleared downfield from that end of the pitch by Newcastle, and they're trying to get Jacob Murphy in behind Cameron Burgess already down the right. Swings the ball into the area looking for the run of Isak, and Isak scores! 26 seconds gone, but the whistle's gone. It will not count for Alexander Isak. The referee spotted an infringement, and Alexander Isak has not put Newcastle ahead. Natalie Aspinall quick with the flag for offside.
On the first look, Stouch, have to say Murphy did look quite a way offside, didn't he? It was a high line from Ipswich with no pressure on the ball. Then Cameron Burgess found himself out there 1v1. Yeah, it was a very good decision by the assistant on the far side.
Yeah, it was the early ball played over the top down the right hand side. Great finish from Isak. There was nothing that Ori Muric could do in the goal, but VAR is having a look. John Brooks is the video assistant referee today, assisted by Craig Taylor at Stockley Park. And the fans at least know that it's being checked, but that's all they've got, that message checking disallowed goal offside in the Jumbotron screen on the far side of the field.
It's going to be a lot tighter than what we first thought it was on first look. When Murphy actually received the ball, he looked about 2 or 3 yards offside. Now, with Cameron Burgess's left leg, as we look across the lines, obviously we've got the different shades as they cut the grass. That is very tight. I can understand why this one, I know there's whistles from the Ipswich fans. We've got Eddie Howe and his Newcastle staff are looking at their own images.
Well, they're just waiting for the lines to be drawn on, because we're waiting too. And it's been a minute and a half since the goal hit the back of the net.
This is a good ball actually from Fabian Cher, and I said there's a high line for Ipswich right on the halfway line, no pressure on the ball, so the Ipswich back four have got to drop off. Murphy just helps it into the box. Sam Morsey does great, he gets in session at the near post. When it comes out, as you said, that it's a fantastic finish from Isak, because as the ball bounced up, he's just making sure he's volleyed it into the ground, and then it's skidded past Muric, giving him absolutely no chance.
And still we wait to see whether a goal is being given. They're still making their adjustments, so Stuart Atwell just telling the players, you just have to wait until we know what happens. The ball has been placed where Murphy started his run down that right hand side, and it's now 2 minutes and we still don't know anymore. And I fully understand why the fans are booing. It's a joke.
Dad, I can feel the panic and the tension back in Stockley Park from where we are now. You can imagine them thinking, we cannot get this wrong. This is very tight.
Goal's been given. He was onside, Jacob Murphy. VAR decides that he timed his run to perfection, and Alexander Isak has an 8th Premier League goal of the season, and after an interminable delay to get the lines drawn and the images sorted, Newcastle have the lead.
That's all good. Cameron Burgess has said about the high line. The rest of the Ipswich back four are on the halfway line. Cameron Burgess is 2 yards inside his own half, and Murphy has timed his run to perfection. It's exactly the start that Ipswich didn't want. Fantastic start from Newcastle, and as I said before, it was a brilliant finish from Isak. Was a centre forward, he's in top form, just oozing confidence, and just smashed it into the ground past Muric.
You were only saying just before we started the commentary how good form Alexander Isak is in right now. As I mentioned, 7 goals in the Premier League this season, scored 25 in all competitions last year. Alexander Isak, it's his best ever season as a goal scorer, and Ipswich already up against it at home once again, as Anthony Gordon's dragged down by Harry Clark, and there's a free kick to Newcastle inside their own half. Early goals elsewhere. Chesterfield have the lead against AFC Wimbledon. Armando Dobra for the Spyrites, and in Ian Holloway's 1000th game as a manager, Swindon Town lead Grimsby by a 1-0 through Ollie Clark. 1-0 to Newcastle here on Talksport 2. Nearly 5 minutes gone, but 2.5 of that was made up of VAR checks. Burns is wrestling with Lewis Hall for possession, and the assistant on this near side, Konstantin Hatzidakis, says that was a foul by Wes Burns, the Welshman, and Newcastle take the free kick quickly. 1-0 they lead.
Yeah, Clark just trying to feed it down this right hand touchline. Really good defensive play from Lewis Hall, just made sure he used his body really well. Burns just a little bit frustrated, decided to have a little tug at his shirt. Quite rightly, free kick was given to Newcastle.
Jeds Kuyuste trying to smuggle the ball out to the left hand side for Ipswich and find Davis, but it's won back by Livramento, who strides purposefully over the halfway line, feeds it out to the right hand side, looking for the run of Jacob Murphy, but this time it's overhit and will go out of play for an Ipswich throw on their left hand side. The rain falling steadily here in Suffolk this afternoon. Was a bit blustery when we got here, but the rain seems to be coming fairly straight down, but it's making that surface very slick on Portman Road this afternoon. Here's Isak, the goal scorer, finds Willock, edge of the D, can roll it left to Anthony Gordon. Gordon trying to step inside, Clark can get a shot away, shot is blocked and then volleyed clear by Kuyuste. Chaplin heads it back inadvertently towards the edge of his own penalty area, but he's bailed out by Harry Clark, who volleys it away. Newcastle 1-0 up, and we played 6 minutes on Talksport 2.
Looking very sharp going forward, just really good link-up play with Isak. Ball comes out to Gordon. I think Gordon should go on the outside dance, because as he comes on this left-hand side, he's 1v1 with Dara O'Shea. Then he just comes back on his right foot, goes into a load of bodies, can't get his shot away. Just go on the outside with left foot and try and smash it across Murich.
Barnsley 0, Leyton Orient 1 in League One this afternoon. That's Jamie Donnelly for the O's. 5 unbeaten going into this one against the Tykes, who have been on a bit of a bad run. Here's Dubravka for Newcastle United, across to Fabian Schär. Nearly 7 minutes gone on Talksport 2. Newcastle already have the lead if you're just tuning into Game Day Exclusive. Isak inside 30 seconds, and now Anthony Gordon trying to get away down the Newcastle left, but it's covered by the run of Harry Clark, who kindly guards the ball back to Ari Muric, and he clears out. Oh, there's 2 balls on the pitch. Surely the referee should blow the whistle, because Leif Davis did the right thing, kicked the other ball out and waited for the whistle. No matter, Ipswich will want it back. Smodics getting away down the left-hand side, left-hand corner of the area, pulls it back towards the edge of the area. It's deflected back into his path off the backside of Fabian Schär. Davis into the box, and it's a comfortable catch low down for Dubravka in his 6-yard area. 1-0 Newcastle.
Leif David is unbelievable there, Dan, because he actually won 2 balls, didn't he? Like, nicked one off a play, make sure that the actual match ball just released Schweinitz down that left-hand side. He's 1v1 with Fabian Schär, tries to go on the outside of him, and because he's the centre forward who's ended up in the inside left position, Ipswich didn't have anybody in the 18-yard box.
Here's Sandro Tonali, lovely ball down the left-hand side to get Willock away into the Ipswich half, past our commentary position, plays a little reverse ball up to the left-hand corner of the area, looking for the run of Isak, but Morsey dealt with it and put it out for a Newcastle throw. 0-1.
Already, Dance, we said this was going to be entertaining, didn't we? And it's got a really good flow about it. You know, both teams, when they're in possession, looking to get the ball forward very, very quickly. A couple of times Newcastle have had the ball on the right-hand side, just trying to build up with Livramento, and he's knocked the ball out of play. We just see Ipswich now just dropping back into their 4-3-3 formation.
Clark intercepts a through ball down the Newcastle left, so Ipswich have it on halfway, right underneath where we're sat. Wes Burns does well in a very tight area to work it back down the line, and now Ipswich are trying to work it from right to left, and they do, as Burgess gets it out to Davis, midway point of his own half. Burton 1, Exeter 0. Burton only 2 wins all season, but Billy Bowden has put them ahead at the Pirelli. You're listening to Ipswich 0, Newcastle 1 on Talksport. Here's Bruno Guimaraes down the right hand side for Jacob Murphy, thinks about a cross down the right hand side of the box, instead slips it into Guimaraes to the dead ball on his inside the area, lays it back to Livramento. Livramento calmly rolls it back into midfield for Fabian Schär. Now Byrne gives it back to Schär, just nicks it past Smodics. Tonali strokes it out to the right hand side for Livramento, thinks about a cross, but instead plays a 1-2 with Tonali. Now it's worked back in field to Schär. Guimaraes takes over, looking for the goal scorer Isak at the edge of the area, but his first touch was heavy and allowed Burgess to bring it clear. But then ball's taken off Hutchinson's toe by Guimaraes, who's working really hard early on for Newcastle United. Rain intensifying here in Suffolk. Guimaraes cross just over the head of Isak, half cleared by Harry Clark. Burgess gets his head to it, comes out to Lewis Hall just by the edge of the D. Then Gordon rolls it in field for Tonali, shapes to shoot, and it's not that far over, just skims the roof of the net on its way wide, and it's a goal kick to Ipswich Town. 10 minutes gone on Talksport 2, Ipswich 0, Newcastle 1.
Dan, all that pressure came from Ipswich being sloppy in possession. Mario Hutchinson just gave the ball away really cheaply. Newcastle recycled it, come out onto the left-hand side to Anthony Gordon, he's right, just rolled the ball into Sandro Tonali, got his confidence up from his 2 goals midweek in the League Cup, just gets the ball out of his feet, 25 yards, gets his shot off, sails aimlessly over Muric's crossbar.
You're listening to Ipswich 0, Newcastle 1 on Talksport 2 with Sky Sports. Don't forget you can stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on now, like Crystal Palace Arsenal live today. Search Now Sports. Hutchinson takes a shot that deflects out to Davis on the left. Great cross, Chaplin went up for a header, and it was beaten to him by Lewis Hall, and there was a little clash of heads there, and the Newcastle players rushed to Lewis Hall's aid. They think he's badly hurt. He was very brave there, the Newcastle left back, getting his head in front of Connor Chaplin, but he's come off worse, and he's lying flat on his back in his own penalty area. 1-0 Newcastle lead. Hopefully he's not too seriously hurt.
Yeah, I think it was just a glancing blow from Connor Chaplin. It was brilliant play from both left fullback's actually on the left-hand side for Ipswich. Leif Davis, ball rolled out to him, just whipped it in first time. Connor Chaplin coming in centre 6-yard box. Lewis Hall did brilliantly, Dance, because you've got to make sure that you track your run up when you're on the far post of the fullback. Exactly what he did. He knows he's going to get a bit of a clump. And understandably, Stuart Atwell, the referee, because it was a clash of heads, he has to stop the game, which you can hear that the Ipswich fans are very understanding about.
Because he just handed the ball essentially to the Newcastle keeper Martin Dubravka. Burnley lead Watford in the Championship. Clarets 8 unbeaten, and Jayden Anthony's giving them the lead. Now there's a claim for a foul on Connor Chaplin by Tonali, and again the referee says, I don't see anything wrong with that, and we play on. Leeds lead Oxford by a goal to nil in the Championship. Gary Rowett, the new man at the helm at the Kazan, but Daniel James has already given Leeds an early advantage. Wigan 1, Shrewsbury 0 in League 1, and Northampton 0, Charlton 1 elsewhere in League 1. Greg Docherty for the Addicts. Here is Sammy Smodics for Ipswich, who trail by a goal to nil with 12 minutes gone. And now Ipswich get a free kick, and a huge ironic cheer from the home support as Stuart Atwell gives them a free kick just inside the Newcastle half.
A bit of a mismatch there. That was a super heavyweight against a flyweight, because as it comes into Smodics, he does well, just gets the ball from under his feet, and Dan Burn gives an unnecessary free kick away.
So much live sport to come today across the Talksport network. The rematch, Fury against Usyk. Our coverage starts on Talksport at 7:30 with Jim White and the team out in Riyadh. Here on Talksport 2 we've got live Premiership Rugby Union once we're done here from Salford Sales Sharks against Exeter Chiefs at 5:15, and then we're straight back to Ali Pali for a really stacked card of entertainment on day 7 of the PDC World Darts, including Luke Littler in action. He's third up against Ryan Meikle. We'll get an update from the afternoon's events at Ali Pali in a few minutes' time with Mark Wilson, who will keep us updated on what's going on there just now. Charlton got a second at Northampton. Tyrese Campbell makes it Northampton 0, Charlton 2. Newport lead MK Dons by a goal to nil, and Solihull Moors 1-0 up on AFC Fylde in the National League. Ball's back with Martin Dubravka, the Newcastle keeper. The Toon Army are 1-0 up here through that goal inside 30 seconds from Alexander Isak, their top scorer. Gordon on halfway tucks it back for Lewis Hall, who appears to be okay after that glancing blow he took off Connor Chaplin.
Just looking at Ipswich stance, they're trying to press, but I don't think they're committed to it. It's whether Amari Hutchins sets it off for Sammy Smodics. Basically they go on their own and they're trying to cut off the Newcastle 2 centre halves. Then they look around, and Kayusta and Sam Morsey are far too far behind them.
Muric has stayed at home as Murphy's played in down the right hand side, lobs across into the box. Gordon heads it down and over the bar. Well, Muric was actually told by Cameron Burgess, come and get the ball as it was played down the Newcastle right. Instead, Muric backpedaled to his goal line. Murphy got there just ahead of Burgess to the byline, lobbed the cross to the far post, and Anthony Gordon's header down into the turf bounced just over the crossbar. So nearly 2-0 Newcastle.
Well, Anthony Gordon's got a score there, Dance. He's actually just taken his eye off the ball, and it was Harry Clark who just nudged him at the last minute. Brilliant ball in from Murphy as the ball's bouncing touchline, just hooks it in on the half volley again. It's Jacob Murphy on that right hand side for Newcastle, kept getting in behind Leif Davison, Cameron Burgess.
Now Isak sent it through to Willock. Oh, he just lost his footing. It was a lovely pass from Alex Isak through the middle. Willock was coming in from the inside left channel, but just tripped over as he tried to latch onto it, and the ball rolled through to Muric. Ipswich 0, Newcastle 1.
That's the least time that you need a mole just to pop up. That's what's happened, because it actually looked like Willock was through, Dance, wasn't he? He's through one-on-one, and he's actually tripped himself up. I think it was his own right toe that's gone into the turf.
Show me a pitch in the Premier League with a mole in it, and I'll show you a 180 I've hit at Ali Pali. It is flat as the proverbial.
Exactly, they're all like bowling greens. To be fair, at least Willock didn't look round and give it, you know, when you, like, as if there's a divot or a bobble come up.
Sandro Tonali down the Newcastle right. Oh, lovely little ball, clipped in field for Isak, 30 yards out, up to the edge of the area, finds Murphy. Murphy goes for goal, and it goes wide. Didn't take a deflection, it's a goal kick to Ipswich, but the home side have not got any control of this game. Newcastle are enjoying themselves out there so far, and they had the lead.
That's every time Newcastle go forward, they look like they're going to score, because Ipswich don't have any defensive shape. You talked about the back four, before the game. It's the same back four playing against Wolves, but there's no understanding between them. We say that it's a half-hearted press, there's no pressure on the ball. Then the back four are a little bit too high. Newcastle just dinking it in behind for Murphy over on that right-hand side. So Newcastle just look at this particular time very, very comfortable. Tonali's in the centre midfield, just being the pivot, making sure he's making himself available.
To paraphrase one Perry Groves, Tonali's only problem is if the rain intensifies, it'll blow his cigar out.
Or he might drop his baton, might slip out of his hand.
17 minutes gone, Ipswich 0, Newcastle 1 on Talksport 2. Ipswich trying to come forward down the left-hand side, but Smodix is easily beaten to the ball by Fabian Scher. We'll check in at Ali Pally with Mark Wilson in just a second. Aberdeen have taken the lead against Hibernian in the Premiership. Topi Keskinen putting the Dons in front. AFC File have equalised at Solihull Moors in the National League. Jolly Halifax Town, FC Halifax Town lead at Barnet. And Barnet doing well in the National League so far this season. And Newport have got a second at home to MK Dons. What is the latest at Ali Pally then on day 7 at the PDC World Darts? Mark Wilson.
Well, Brendan Dolan is a leg away from round 3. He leads Lochyern Lee by 2-0 and 2 legs to 1. He's just missed a match start at the bullseye. Lee stepped in to win just his 3rd leg of the match. Winner of this one plays Michael Van Gogh, and it's Dolan 2, Lee 0.
Thank you, Mark. We're back at Ali Pally live from 7:30 tonight with Mark, with Chris Murphy, Paul Nicholson and Chris Mason. The commentary on tonight's matches, including Luke Little at Ryan Meikle and Damon Hetter the Heat against Connor Scott. Really good games tonight. Darts on the radio, it works and it wins awards. 18 minutes gone, Ipswich 0, Newcastle 1. Throw into Newcastle on the right hand side, taken back to halfway, and Tonali strokes into the path of Dan Byrne. So often a left back for Newcastle, but in the absence of Sven Botman, he's playing centre half regularly at the moment, the 6'7" man. Wes Burns getting down the right for Ipswich, gets past Hall, fakes the cross, sends it into the near post. Smodix trying to hold it up, can give it back to the Welshman. Burns has it again, thinks about driving for the byline, lays it off to Harry Clark. Lovely swirling cross headed away by Guimaraes, doing his defending there at the far post. Davis will let the ball, no, he keeps it in play. I thought he was going to let it drift out of play for a throw, but he keeps it in play in front of the Newcastle fans on that far side. Now Morsey into the feet of Chaplin. Kayuse, great run down the left-hand side of the area, takes a left-footed drive and it whistles over the crossbar and ends up being a Newcastle goal kick. 19 minutes gone, Newcastle still 1 up. Perry Groves.
Better play from Ipswich initially down their right-hand side with Byrne getting the cross in, then they recycle it, little give and go from Connor Chaplin into Kayuse, goes on the outside of Livramento, gets it onto his left foot, and to be fair, Livramento was very shrewd there, Dance. He just gave him a little nudge with his left arm, just knocked him off balance. That's why Kayuse just smashed the ball over the crossbar.
Here's Chaplin, centre of the Newcastle half, looks to slip it through. Smodix blocked by Dubravka as he came out outside his 6-yard line. Still with Ipswich. Leif Davis works it infield to Amari Hutchinson, 25 yards out, plays the ball backwards of square to Morsey. Now Clark has it, gives it back to his captain Morsey. Just to his left is Kayuse. Davis stationed out on the left wing. Rain absolutely hammering down now at Portman Road.
What Ipswich doing now, Dance, Hutchinson and Connor Chaplin basically playing as 2 10s just in behind Smodix when Ipswich possession. Leif Davis gives them the width out on the left-hand side.
Little touch from Smodix, finds Hutchinson, but he can't smuggle the ball back through to his fellow Ipswich teammate, but Newcastle make a mess of the clearance. Wes Burns down the Ipswich right, tries to swing a cross in, comes up off Lewis Hall and out for a throw-in, not far from the corner flag, where the East of England co-op stand meets the Sir Alf Ramsey, just down to our right. Hibs equalise at Aberdeen, 1-1. Bromley lead at Morecambe in League 2. Owasawumni giving Bromley the lead at the Globe Arena. Harry Clark about to take this throw for Ipswich Town under darkening skies. Of course, this is the winter solstice, shortest day of the year in terms of daylight hours, and it's getting dark already. We're not even at 3:30. Newcastle only get the ball half clear, comes out to Kayuse 30 yards out, has to shoot, but by the time he trapped it, Guimaraes was next to him. Little back heel from Davis trying to get Kayuse away, but Newcastle bring it clear, and now Guimaraes is away down the right-hand side. Ipswich funneling players back. It's 3-on-2 for the moment. Guimaraes up to the edge of the area, feeds it to Murphy with a drive, and that's a brilliant block by Cameron Burgess, and Sam Morsey it was, sliding in to block it out of play. But it looked at first that Bruno Guimaraes was running in treacle as he tried to bring the ball away. 1-0 Newcastle lead.
Again, there's naivety of Ipswich stance on the attack at the edge of Newcastle's 18-yard box, and all of a sudden, with one pass, as you said there, they're 3v2, comes out to Guimaraes. He knew he didn't have the pace, so then he just tries to hit it to Murphy goes on the outside of him. To be fair to Sam Morsey, he's run fully 60 yards to make sure that he gets that block in from the shot from Jacob Murphy. Really good defending from Ipswich's captain, but again, it's just that naivety defensively. You know, there's no sort of communication between Dara O'Shea and Cameron Burgess just to make sure at least one of your centre halves is back on the halfway line.
In the Championship, two sides on decent unbeaten runs meeting at Loftus Road, both 6 unbeaten, but Preston lead at QPR. Another goal for Militin Osmaic, putting the Lily Whites ahead, and Norwich lead at Sunderland in the Championship as well. I'll confirm the goal scorer shortly. No one in 3 for the Canaries, but it's Anis Ben Slimani who's got that goal at the Stadium of Light.
Dan, Sunderland are the only side in the Championship this season not to concede a goal from a corner.
Well, I don't know. I can't tell you whether that one's from a corner. I'm afraid I don't have that information to hand.
So you're there at Arsenal and Austin McPhee at Aston Villa, beware.
Yeah.
There's another set-piece coach after your job.
It's a really dark sky up above us now. The rain continues to hammer down onto the Portland Road pitch. Newcastle give it away. Ipswich 1 down here if you're just tuning in to Game Day exclusive on Talksport 2. We played 23 minutes here in Suffolk, and it was a goal inside 26 seconds by Alexander Isak, ratified by VAR, that has given Newcastle this advantage. Ball back to Ari Muric, who was in the Burnley side that got relegated last season. Now Sam Morsey striding clear up to the halfway line, looks to pass it into the path of Hutchinson, but it was intercepted by Sandro Tonali. Here come Newcastle again, it's through to Isak. Oh, the shot was blocked on its way to goal, and it allowed Muric to make the save, and again Newcastle on the brink of going 2-0 up.
Isak's got a sword dance. I don't know what's happened there. It looked like he miskicked it completely, but it's fantastic play from Jacob Murphy again from that right hand side, just pinging it into Alexander Isak. He's opened his body out and he's tried to bend it with the instep of his right foot back across Muric, and he's just miskicked it completely. Yeah,
there's no deflection, it's just a poor connection. So Ipswich coming forward, they're still just 1-0 down. Burns to the right hand corner of the area, tries to float it out to the left hand side. Newcastle get it clear. Poor touch from Murphy, presents it to the captain Morsey. Square to Kiyuste. Davis calling for it out on the left hand side, but it will go to Cameron Burgess instead. Newport 3, MK Dons 0 in League 2. Now ball spread out to the Ipswich right, just down to our right, and Wes Burns up against Lewis Hall, drives for the byline, whips the cross in at pace, but it goes between goalkeeper, centre half and strikers, and out of play in front of the Newcastle fans for a Toon throw. 24 gone, Ipswich 0, Newcastle 1 on Talksport 2.
Burns spins Hall right round, just gets on the outside of him, whips it across the 6-yard box. Sammy Smodics, who's a centre forward, he's got to make sure he gets in between the posts. If he does, it's a tap-in. Brilliant play from Burns.
You want to know this? My producer Sal's just investigated. That Norwich goal was from a corner.
Do you know Sunderland have only conceded 1 goal from a corner this season in the Championship?
Can't save it now. It's all gone. Ball out of play for an Ipswich throw, left-hand side. It's going to be taken by Cameron Burgess. He thinks about going back to his keeper, but he saw that Isak was on his marks, on his blocks, ready to go if he did, so instead he's left the throw for Lee Davis to take, being told by Stuart Atwell to get on with it. And Davis still looking for an option to get the ball back into play to. Kiyuste is nearest to him, and the Swede now gets it, works it back to Burgess. Kiyuste again, being pressurised by Guimaraes, runs across the line midway point of his own half, left to right, and feeds it out to Harry Clark. And then Kiyuste holds off Guimaraes, who thought he was being fouled there, but that's just good strength from the Ipswich midfielder. And the ball's back with Dara O'Shea at the edge of his own box. brings the ball clear. Good strong run from Dara O'Shea, then threads it over the halfway line looking for Smodics, intercepted comfortably by Fabian Schär, who brings the ball himself into the Ipswich half. It's coming down like stair rods now at Portman Road. Newcastle in front, and they've won the ball back in the centre circle. Guimaraes is then clipped by Chaplin as he tried to go past him. No yellow card for Chaplin, but a warning from Stuart Atwell. Newcastle are 1-0 up and they've got a free kick.
Just a little example there of Ipswich, they're sloppiness in possession. Dara O'Shea did brilliantly, Danton, initially getting the ball from Clark and then just going 10 yards through the middle of Newcastle's midfield, and then he should just release the pass probably 2 seconds earlier into Sammy Smodics. Then he runs another 10-15 yards of it. Sammy Smodics, who's come to get it to feet, then turns away and spins, and Dara O'Shea gives it to him as if he's going to stand and receive it. So it's just that little bit of fluidity that they're missing with their final execution of their passing, because when Newcastle get in the final third, they've just got that little bit more quality, and they're 9 times out of 10 they pick the right pass.
Free kick to Newcastle in torrential rain, shipped up to the edge of the area by Hall, headed out by Ipswich, but Newcastle will retrieve it, and Hall's got to go back to his keeper Dubravka, midway point of his own half. Mansfield 1, Rotherham 0 in League 1. Ajeji Oshilaja puts the Stags in front. Now it's Ari Muric, the Ipswich keeper, passes across to Burgess. The ball is still running true on the playing surface, but it is really hammering it down here, and it will surely start to affect the way the ball runs and the way the players run and whether they can hold their footing.
Yeah, you might see a few Cucurellas, as it's known in the trade now, changing their boots.
Maybe so. Here is Dara O'Shea, right-hand corner of his own box for Ipswich. Clark has to go infield to Kiyus, who knows he's got Guimaraes herring down after him. Muric passes outside the area. It's not collected by Morsey, so Ipswich have been dispossessed, and Newcastle, through Tonali, works it back into his own half for Lewis Hall. So no goals elsewhere in the Premier League so far this afternoon. Leyton Orient have just got a second at Barnsley as Dubravka volleys clear. Notts County lead Bradford by 1-0 in League 2. And the ball's hooked up high into the Suffolk sky as the rain just relents for a moment. Ipswich have it back. They trail by 1-0, and then Chaplin trying to lob it out to Burns on this near side. Just lofts it instead straight out to play for a Newcastle throw. Willock and Gordon combining. Tonali looks a class act. I don't think I've seen Sandro Tonali live that many times. Watched highlights of him, Perry Groves, but not watched him live. He looks absolutely tailor-made for that role he's got in front of the back four.
Exactly, yeah. So he's just that pivot dancing in. He looks like he's got a lot of time, you know, when you're playing a testimonial game, when you just calm the game down to your pace. Never looks rushed.
Ross County 0, St Mirren 1 in the Scottish Premiership. No goals elsewhere in the 3 o'clocks in the Premier League. Aston Villa beat Manchester City at lunchtime. You heard it live on Talksport. So Villa have gone above Manchester City into 5th place. Ipswich a goal down, but piling forward now with Kiyusta coming through the centre circle. Tried to play the ball with the outside of his boot along the deck for the run of Hutchinson, but was comfortably intercepted, and Newcastle have it back. Guimaraes in the centre circle. Out to the left-hand side to Anthony Gordon. Just lets the ball run across his body. Now slips it down the left-hand side of the box for Hall. Hall tries to play it across the face of goal, but it's too close to Muric at his near post that he comfortably collects. Half an hour gone, Newcastle 1-0 up.
Dan, you mentioned about Tonali, how good he is in possession, but even there, would you say about his defensive structure, the way that he thinks about the what-ifs? Because Guimaraes went to close down, Kiyuste spun him, Guimaraes looks like he's running on treacle, and then Kiyuste tries to play it into Hutchinson. Who's standing there protecting his centre halves? Tonali, just making sure that he's always looking over his shoulder. It's
currently Ipswich 0, Newcastle 1 for the latest odds. Head to William Hill, the official betting partner of Talksport 2's Premier League coverage, where right now you can get Ipswich to win at 9-1, Newcastle to get the win at 100-30 on, the draw 4-1 against. That's all thanks to William Hill. 18 plus, begambleaware.org. Tonali inside the Ipswich half now for Newcastle. It's found Alexander Isak. rolls it to the left-hand side of the area. Gordon picks it up, checking onto his right foot, running across the line, can't get the shot away, feeds it into Murphy! 2-0 Newcastle, thumping hit from Jacob Murphy, who set up the first and has rifled home the second off the underside of the crossbar. Ari Muric never saw it. Gordon with a set-up play, and Newcastle have a 2-goal cushion, and Ipswich are getting that familiar sinking feeling at home. 31 gone, Ipswich 0, Newcastle 2.
Well, there's Jacob Murphy trading places with Anthony Gordon. Anthony Gordon coming in that left-hand side, just goes into his right foot. Ipswich don't engage him, just gets to the edge of the 18-yard box, just rolls it to Jacob Murphy, who's in fantastic goal-scoring form, and then from 16 yards out, he just takes a brilliant touch, gets it out of his feet, and then thinks, right, I'm just going to put my laces through it. I'm looking at the goalkeeper down to Muric. It looks like it's gone over the top of him and hit the underside of the crossbar and bounced down. So there might be question marks about the goalkeeper, because that shouldn't be going through you, but it's a great strike from Jacob Murphy, and again, just far too easy for Newcastle to slice through that Ipswich back four.
That's 3 goals in 2 Premier League games for Jacob Murphy. Got a brace against Leicester in that 4-0 win, and that was leathered home by Jacob Murphy. Notts County 2-0 up on Bradford meantime. In fact, it's 3-0. David McGoldrick has got the second. Here's Isak. Newcastle in again. Murphy just beaten to the ball by Cameron Burgess, sliding in. He had to make that challenge 100% correct, otherwise that could have been a penalty to Newcastle. Ipswich trying to do something about this scoreline, 2-0 down. Hutchinson twisting and turning in the centre circle to get away from trouble. He lays it back to Harry Clark. Now Morsey. Well, we had the goals, Perry Groves. You and Faye were worried that you were going to be the Jonas again, but 2-0 already, and it feels like there's going to be more.
Well, we did say it would be entertaining, didn't we? And it has been entertaining. It's because of Ipswich's lack of coordination when they're defending, and Newcastle, that tackle started. We mentioned about Tonali and Guimaraes. They actually swapped positions. Guimaraes came a little bit deeper. Tonali came in 10 position, and that enabled Newcastle to get the ball on the right-hand side, come out to Gordon.
Playing with a swagger at the moment, Newcastle. Guimaraes tried to feed it through to Willock. He was dispossessed, and Ipswich have it back. That 3rd goal for Notts County, second of the game for Alassane Yatta. Tonali wins it back for Newcastle, piling forward again. Gordon inside the area, left-hand side, tries to square it across. It's blocked by Clark, and then a little clip on the heels of Morsey by Gordon gives the home side a free kick. Solihull Moors back in front in the National League against AFC Fylde. That's Kevin Phillips' side these days. Let's not forget AFC Fylde in the National League. But 2-0 to Newcastle here, as Walsall take the lead at Harrogate in League 1. Walsall 4 unbeaten, top of the shop in League 2. Although Doncaster won today. Nathan Lowe got the goal for Walsall.
Drop my name stat of the day.
I'm ready.
In Walsall's last 4 away league games versus Harrogate, they've conceded a different number of goals in each game, going from 0, 1, 2, 3.
So what you're telling me is the comeback's still on?
I'll leave that with you.
Ball's back with Dan Byrne, midway point of his own half. Still very heavy rain coming down onto the Portman Road pitch, but the playing surface is handling it well. Not only are these Premier League pitches flat as a pancake, they've also got terrific drainage for the most part. 10 to half time on Talksport 2. It remains Ipswich 0, Newcastle 2. Isak and Murphy, the goal scorers for Newcastle United, and it's the Toon Army you can hear in full voice opposite us in the Cobbold stand, making a right old racket. Ball's been passed out of play because Connor Chaplin needs a bit of attention. I don't know whether we can go to Mark Wilson and Ali Pally, get an update on the darts. We can't for the moment, but Brendan Dolan was on the verge of victory in his match this afternoon, but Connor Chaplin is just getting some treatment at the moment. So in the Premier League right now, earlier today it finished Aston Villa 2-1 winners against Manchester City. Elsewhere, West Ham and Brighton are 0-0. Brentford and Forest are 0-0. Palace and Arsenal gets underway at 5:30. Regular updates on that game during the course of the game day phone-in with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy. In the Championship, games with goals: Burnley 1-up on Watford, Leeds 1-up on Oxford, Preston 1-up at QPR, and Norwich 1-up at Sunderland from a corner. Games with goals in League One: Leyton Orient 2-0 up at Barnsley, Burton 1-0 up against Exeter, Mansfield lead Rotherham 1-0, Charlton 2-up at Northampton, Wigan lead Shrewsbury by a goal to nil. Newport have just got a 4 in League Two against MK Dons, going goal crazy there. Chesterfield lead AFC Wimbledon 1-0, Walsall, as you just heard, 1-0 up at Harrogate, Bromley 1-0 up at Morecambe, Notts County 3-0 up on Bradford City, and Swindon 1-0 up on Grimsby. As Hibs go 2-1 up at Aberdeen, Nicky Cadden, the former Forest Green player, puts the Highbees ahead. They've had a rotten season, but Aberdeen started so brilliant, but their form's kind of gone off a cliff. Chaplin's going to be okay to come back on. You've missed none of the action here. There's going to be a bit of stoppage time to add on. We had the delay for the VAR check for the goal in the first minute, and now Chaplin's had to wait to get his chance to come back on. Bryn Morris with the 4th for Newport, incidentally, that 4-0 lead they've got over MK, a Bryn Morris penalty. Back underway, Ian Danter and Perry Groves with you. Faye Carruthers here too. You'll hear from Faye at half-time. Ipswich 2-0 down in front of their own, and Hutchinson dispossessed by Tonali, tried to flick it with the outside of his boot into the area for Guimaraes, but it was just overhit.
Dan, we just saw the difference in both teams pressing there. Newcastle's press is far more coordinated. Starts off from Isak, then Guimaraes goes, then Tonali makes sure that when the ball tries to come into Hutchinson, who's playing in the 10 position, then Tonali just follows him all the way in, ends up managing to nick it off him. Ipswich can't get out.
Ball is with Tino Livramento, into the feet of Isak, 30 yards out, back to goal, works it out to Guimaraes. Guimaraes back into the area, Isak trying to keep it in play down by the dead ball line, but O'Shea got the better of him and hooked it out of play. Third for Charlton at Northampton, Miles Leaburn, son of Carl Leaburn, gets the goal for Charlton, and Plymouth have the lead against Middlesbrough, bottom of the Championship after the lunchtime results. And it's Gibson who's given Plymouth the lead at Home Park. Wayne Rooney up against his old teammate Michael Carrick, and Forest lead at Brentford. Ola Aina makes it 1-0 to the side with the 3rd best away record, at the side with the best home record. Here come Newcastle down the right hand side, ball into the box, but it's straight to the grateful arms of Ari Muric. 2-0 here. What's the latest at Alexandra Palace in the PDC darts? Mark Wilson.
Yeah, Brendan Dolan's wrapped up a tie with Michael Van Gerwen after Christmas. He's beaten Lock Yin Lee by 3-0, averaged over 92, 69% on his doubles. Really solid performance from Dolan, who will give Van Gerwen a run for his money in round 3. Brendan Dolan 3, Lock Yin Lee 0.
Thanks, Mark. One more match to play. We'll keep you in touch with that during the course of the rest of the afternoon here on Talksport 2. And all 4 matches tonight from Alexandra Palace are live here from 7:30 with Mark Wilson, with Chris Murphy, Paul Nicholson and Chris Mason, our top team at the top of Muswell Hill. Here come Ipswich 2-0 down with Amari Hutchinson with his back to goal, 30 yards out or so. Options left and right. Lobs it into the box, looking for the run of Smodics. He'll keep it in play down by the dead ball line, flicks it out to the right wing for Burns, but the offside flag belatedly goes up against Sammy Smodics. Newcastle have a free kick. Lewis Gibson confirmed as that Plymouth goal scorer against Middlesbrough.
Yeah, just Sammy Smodics going a little bit too early. Lazy play actually, because he can look right across the line. He can see Dan Burns' number. He's just got to make sure that he just comes back, gets himself onside. That just completely takes the momentum out of Ipswich's attack.
So a free kick for Dubravka, the Newcastle keeper, to smack downfield down the left-hand side. Headed up in the air by O'Shea, out of play for a throw to the visitors. Taken quickly, Isak down the left-hand side. 2 balls on the pitch again temporarily. Isak still has it. The second ball's been cleared away. Now Anthony Gordon, left-hand corner of the area, swings the ball to the far post, and Leif Davis gets the shout to leave it so it can drop behind and merely be an Ipswich goal kick. You're listening to Ipswich 0, Newcastle 2 on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has vans of all shapes and sizes, so if you've got a plan, they've got a van, and we've got Perry Groves.
Man with a van.
Of course.
Cash only though.
Yeah, we don't recommend that.
Cash is king where it used to be.
We don't encourage that.
It's not king anymore, is it, to be fair?
Not these days. Ball's back with Ari Muric.
Again, just looking at the press stance. They want to play out for the back. Morsey's normally conducts, isn't he? See Willock there, just follow him all the way in, just right up his back, so that Ipswich can't get out very easily. That's been the difference in both teams. So Newcastle's press is more cohesive, more coordinated, and Newcastle are better in possession in the final third.
3.5 minutes to half time. Ball cleared downfield by Muric. Ipswich just can't keep hold of it though, and it's come for Anthony Gordon, who's sprinting into the Ipswich half, plays it left to Isak inside the area, curls it, goals, good save. Muric saved it at the second attempt, almost dropped it as he landed, but he held on to it well as Isak was looking to bend it into the top corner. 2-0 Newcastle.
Yeah, it's one for the cameras for Muric, because good play from Anthony Gordon again, just cutting in from this left hand side, rolling that to Isak, just squares up Dara O'Shea, just using him as a shield, trying to bend it round him. In the end, it was a good height for Muric, grabbed it at the second attempt.
Swindon have a second at home to Grimsby in Ian Holloway's 1000th game as a manager. Kabogo Shimanga gets that second for the Robins at the county ground. Gateshead 2-0 up at Ebbsfleet in the National League. Luke Hannett with a penalty for one North East club, another North East club 2-0 up here, but they've got some defending to do, Newcastle, because Amari Hutchinson trying to sprint away down the left hand side. Sandro Tonali just took it away from him with ease and knocks it down the right hand side for Murphy.
That was like an under 15 playing against an under 10, wasn't it? At first it looked like Hutchinson was going to be away, and Tonali just tracked his run, put his left shoulder into him and just basically shouldered him off the ball.
Space for Guimaraes to try and tope up the ball into the area looking for Isak, but the hosts win back possession. Davis gets to the midway point of his own half, then fires it into the feet of Burns, who's inside the centre circle, just inside the opposition half. Only Davis up with Burns at the moment, and he gets dispossessed by Dan Byrne this time. Byrne against Burns, and it's back with Dubravka as we edge toward half-time on Talksport 2. Newcastle 2 up.
So was that second-degree Burns?
Oh boy, oh boy. You just thought of that off the top of your head, didn't you? That's what worries me about you. What you can come up with on a whim.
I've gone into catchphrase, say what you see.
We should get you on celebrity catchphrase with old Stephen. With the amount you trot out, you'd be in the final round, no problem at all. There's going to be 4 minutes of minimum stoppage time when we get to 45 minutes. There's still a minute of normal time to play. Gordon lies flat in a heap after trying to win a header against Clark. Ipswich keep the ball in play. Gordon's told by one or two around us to get to his feet.
Again, just looking at Newcastle, you can see that Joe Willock is the one who's been designated to go on to Morsey.
Good ball from Hutchinson, turning it around the corner so Kiyusti can get away into the Newcastle half. Slows the attack down though, brings in Leif Davis left hand side. He finds Chaplin at the edge of the D. Next to him is Hutchinson. It's rolled back for Morsey 30 yards out. Clips it out to Burns on the right wing for Ipswich. Support just behind him from Clark. Gives it back to the right back. Infield it goes to Morsey. Newcastle have got everybody behind the ball and forcing Clark to go back to O'Shea on the halfway line. Very, very well organised so far this afternoon, Eddie Howe's men.
Yeah, when it came out to Burns on this right-hand side, he just rolled it back into Clark's and he can whip it in first time. Takes too many touches.
Little touch from Chaplin trying to guide it into the path of Smodics at the edge of the area. Newcastle get it clear. Murphy guides it down for the right back, Livramento. We're into that 4 minutes of added time now at the end of the first half. Guimaraes shrugs off the challenge of Chaplin and he finds Isak onto the halfway line, wants it back from Tonali, but the ball's given away by Tonali, and here come Ipswich. Sammy Smodics running at the Newcastle back line, up to the edge of the area, gets it on his left and fires it wastefully over. A couple of times they've had that sort of position from which to shoot Ipswich Town, and both times it's whistled over Dubravka's crossbar for a goal kick. 2-0 to the Toonami.
Yeah, Sammy Smodics found himself 1v1 with Cher, but he just wasn't strong enough to go on the outside of Cher. Got it on his left foot, just fired it over the crossbar, didn't even hit the target.
I know what you did there, I heard it. I believe you did another pun. Goal kick for Dubravka.
Well, Smodics wished he'd have found someone.
Stop it.
That's it. That's enough.
That's enough now. Yeah, yellow card.
Yeah, sorry, Sal.
Sal, producer.
He's just scared. I've had enough.
Not HP. Ball given away. Isak's going to make it 3. Oh, what a mess at the back for Ipswich Town. The ball just presented via a ricochet to Alexander Isak after Ipswich were guilty of not clearing their lines and just mucking around with it inside their own 18-yard box, and how they have been punished by Alexander Isak, who has his second and Newcastle's third right on half-time. Ipswich 0, Newcastle 3.
Dance, I'm looking at the Ipswich players. Muric is challenging his inner Fraser Forster because he just takes too much time. He tries to roll it into Kajuste. We said about the closing down from Ipswich been excellent. Guimaraes closes down Kajuste. He gets a little foot in. Isak's totally unmarked on the edge of the 6-yard box. He's 1v1 with Muric, and he just takes his time, gives him a little dummy, flicks it past him. What is Harry Muric doing, Dance? Your team's 2-0 down, you're just coming at half-time, and you're trying to play too clever into Kajuste, and Ramirez read it like a book. Just shocking goalkeeping.
Well, we saw that from Harry Muric all too often at Burnley last season, and it was no secret what sort of goalkeeper Kieran McKenna had invested in, that he likes to play out from the back and believes in himself. But there's a time and there is a place for that sort of approach, and with Guimaraes haring down on Kajuste, that was neither time nor place, and Ipswich find themselves 3 down at home right on half time, and more than a mountain to climb.
Just about game management. So you're 2-0 down, coming up to half time.
Hutchinson at the edge of the penalty area, twists away from Tonali, tries to play the cross in, deflects out of play. Ipswich have their first corner of the game in the 49th minute, right at the end of the half, in front of the Alf Ramsey stand. Can they make it count and give them something to hang on to as they go in at the break, because they're 3-0 down here?
Well, they've just panned over to Kieran McKenna, obviously the Ipswich Town manager, and he looks dejected, Dance. You know, he's got a lot of talking to do at this half-time.
Corner whips into the far post. O'Shea heads it back across goal. Out by Joe Willock. But it's retained by Morsey. But Morsey had to turn under pressure from Tonali and feed it back to the goalkeeper Muric. Clearing it downfield down the right-hand side. O'Shea has stayed forward. Knotted in field. Anthony Gordon with a heavy touch. Chaplin, the other number 10 out there, tries to get a piece of it. But it's just walloped downfield by Newcastle, and Isak's giving chase, and Isak's been guilty of fouling Leif Davis. I thought for a moment the referee Stuart Atwell was going to let that go, but Isak penalised in the end. But it looked like he'd muscled Davis off the ball and was going to have a clear run on goal again.
That was very, very minimal contact. Leif Davis has got to be so much stronger, Dance, because basically it's a brush with Isak's left forearm, and Leif Davis has gone to the full like he's been hit on the top of your head with a lift.
Free kick smacked downfield by Muric, comfortably won back by Share. And now Tonali, who's had a great first half in Newcastle, orchestrating everything. Guimaraes releases Murphy down the right-hand side. This is how the first goal came about. Up against Davis, checks inside him for the moment, right-hand corner of the box, slips it into Willock. Willock turns it back to the edge of the area, trying to find Guimaraes, but he couldn't control it. Oh, poor clearance, Ipswich. Isak to the far post. Gordon drives it over the bar from a very tight angle, and it will end up being a goal kick. That was nearly number 4 at the end of the 4th minute of added time.
Dance, Ipswich have gone. Ipswich are punch drunk. There's no leadership there.
Well, there goes the half-time whistle, and boos around Portman Road, as you might expect for a team that have shipped 3 goals in the first half. You heard Eddie Howe in our build-up saying in the pre-match press conference what a good feeling that the Newcastle squad has had in recent times, and my how that's shown in that opening 45 minutes that we've just brought you. They were ahead inside 30 seconds. Alexander Isak smacking it home after the pullback from Jacob Murphy. There was a VAR check, but it went in Newcastle's favour. They then went 2 up when Jacob Murphy turned from assister to goal scorer, rifling home a drive from the right-hand side of the penalty area that went right above Muric, in off the underside of the crossbar and in. And then Isak got his second, Newcastle's third, after an awful pass from Muric, straight out of his penalty area, intended for Kiyuste, dispossessed by Bruno Guimaraes. It rolled to Isak. He just sat the goalkeeper down and rolled it in to give us a half-time score in Suffolk of Ipswich Town 0, Newcastle United 3.
I've just been told that's the first time Ipswich have been booed off at half-time. We talked about the importance, Perry Groves, of Ipswich getting 3 points. I mean, that's long gone, it feels. Although we have talked about comebacks equally, but that's a long way to come back. What a mess of a first-half performance that was.
Very much so. In fact, it started off in the first 15 seconds, because when we're talking before the game, Ipswich need to be on the front foot. They need to get the crowd behind them. They get that momentum, a lot of positivity. And it's all these little details where there's no pressure on the ball. Fabian Schär's got it in the sort of inside right back position for Newcastle. He just helps up the line, and Cameron Burgess is 2 to 3 yards behind the rest of the Ipswich back four. So they're on the halfway line. He drops in 2-3 yards too deep. That plays Jacob Murphy onside, because at first, when Jacob Murphy received the ball, we're right in line with Jacob Murphy.
Yeah.
I thought he was probably 2-3 yards offside.
Yeah.
So then, obviously, Burgess is trying to get back. Murphy gets the cross in. Morsey, to be fair, does well at first, gets in the near post. Then it gets a ricochet, comes to Isak. He smashes it into the ground on the volley. Brilliant technique, and then skips off. Then all of a sudden, you're 1-0 down after 35 seconds.
26, I think it was.
26 seconds,
yeah.
And you've had the kick-off. Ipswich kicked off.
I know.
If you remember, they had kicked
but
off.
Also,
they kicked it out of play.
Leif Davis was miles away. So their line is so high. It's a real problem, because then he's completely exposed, Cameron Burgess, and he was looking in the wrong direction. So he didn't even see Jacob Murphy on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side.
Yeah, but if he's up that extra 2 yards, then he's on that. You're right. There's no pressure on the ball, so you have to drop off.
Yeah.
But he's got to look at his other back four members and go, right, I've got to be up level with you. And the big difference as well is we talked down to myself in the commentary. Tonali's been brilliant on the ball and can touch everything. But on the press, Newcastle are far more organised and far more cohesive when they actually go and press that with Isak. Then Guimaraes goes in. Tonali's the one at the base, and they're all coordinated. Ipswich press, and it's a little bit haphazard. I don't think there's any conviction in it. You know, whether Schmodix goes first, and then it's Chapman or Hutchinson. Then they look round, and there's no other Ipswich players pressing behind them. So Newcastle, Tonali's been brilliant on the ball, but he's able to then get it into Guimaraes or get it into Joe Willock, and then Newcastle, Ipswich's back four. It's been very, very comfortable for Newcastle.
Yeah, he's disrupted everything in the middle of the park, Sandro Tonali, but to be fair, every time Ipswich have had an opportunity, which has been few and far between, they've wasted it. Schmodix just, I mean, he must be so infuriated, Kieran McKenna, that Liam Delap's got his fifth yellow card and is suspended today, because I think he would have buried a couple of the chances that they had there. But they've gifted everything else to Newcastle on a plate. We'll see if we've got time to analyse the rest of that first half very shortly, but we do have to preview tonight's Premier League action first with Sky Sports.
Stay ahead of the game on Talksport 2 with Sky Sports. Stream the biggest Premier League games, available with no contract, on now. Like Crystal Palace versus Arsenal live today. Search Now Sports, 18+, stream via internet, terms apply.
Well, feeling like a little bit of deja vu perhaps for Ian Abrahams as we look ahead to Crystal Palace against Arsenal. These two sides met midweek in the League Cup. Arsenal came up on top after a 3-2 win. Can we expect much of the same today, Ian? And did that game tell us anything about tonight's game?
No, I don't think it did. Good afternoon from a wet and dreary and windy Selhurst Park, which will suit Crystal Palace down to the ground. 72 hours since these two met. I think Arsenal will be much changed, and I think there might be about 7 or 8 changes to the Arsenal team tonight. Palace will be very similar to the one that lined up at the Emirates, but yesterday's press conference from Mikel Arteta was all about his 5-year anniversary. He would love to nail another bit of silverware and the big one, the Championship, to celebrate his 5th year anniversary. I'm not sure what's going to happen this season, but they can achieve something that hasn't been done in London for nearly 20 years, and that a London side has gone a whole calendar year without losing a London derby. They played 9 already in 2024. This is obviously their last one of the calendar year, and if they manage to get out of here tonight with either a win or a draw, they'll achieve what Chelsea managed back in 2005. So there's something there for Arteta's team to go for, but also to try and put some pressure on Liverpool, who play tomorrow at Spurs.
Yeah, really important for them to do that, especially again Manchester City dropping points in our lunchtime kickoff. Additionally, Eddie Nketiah up against his former side, scored for Palace in the week as well, and welcome for him because he's really struggled so far since his move to Selhurst Park.
Yeah, I mean, he struggled really last year at Arsenal and at Palace. I thought, like many, that pastors knew might show Eddie Nketiah that. I mean, listen, I covered the under-21s and I saw Nketiah break the goal-scoring record for the under-21s. He never missed, basically, when he was in the under-21s. And I think, he just at Arsenal, it wasn't working for him. It hasn't really worked for him here either. Jean-Philippe Mateta is the main man in terms of goal-scoring, but whether he gets a chance today or not, I'm sure that if he scores, he'll absolutely love it.
Yeah, he would indeed. Enjoy the game. Should be quite good fun, I think, after the midweek one, although changes, as you say. Ian Abrahams there will bring you updates on the game day phone-in with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy over on Talksport from 5:30. That was a look ahead to this afternoon's Premier League action with Sky Sports. Don't forget you can stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on Now, just like Crystal Palace against Arsenal, which is live today. Search Now Sports.
Stay ahead of the game on Talksport 2 with Sky Sports. Stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on Now, like Crystal Palace versus Arsenal live today. Search Now Sports 18+, stream via internet, terms apply.
This is game day exclusive on Talksport 2. Second half of Ipswich against Newcastle coming next, with Newcastle coasting at half-time, leading by 3-0. We'll bring you the other half-time scores from across the Premier League and the EFL next.
Talksport 2, official broadcast partner of the English Football League.
Game day exclusive on Talksport 2 with Sky Sports. Stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on Now, like Crystal Palace versus Arsenal live today. Search Now Sports 18+, stream via internet, terms apply.
We all fantasize about our perfect home, watching the big game cozied up in the snug. Balmy summer nights with the kids playing on the lawn.
We're playing real-life football!
But come on, this isn't real. Listen, if you're serious about making your fantasy a reality, find out what your home is worth instantly with a free online valuation estimate. Get real about moving. Get on the market. Most common time to obtain an online quote between 1st of April 2024 and 30th of June 2024 was under 3 minutes. Excludes Northern Ireland.
$1.39 at McDonald's gets you a delicious cheeseburger. $1.39 at a concert gets you... Testing. McDonald's Saver Menu. Actually get your money's worth. From 11 a.m. Price and participation may vary. Price varies on delivery, subject to availability.
Football is back and it's game on. Get the ultimate football coverage with the Sun's free pull-out goals. With the best writers pitchside for in-depth match reports, it's all about goals. And with unrivaled news from the Premier League to League Two, it has to be goals! Stay up to date on all the latest football action. Get your free copy of Goals every Saturday, Sunday and Monday, only in the Sun.
The Screwfix sale is now on and it's big! Save a big £15 on the Gold Screw Trade Pack, now only $19.99. And grab the Stanley Organizer for just $9.99, saving you a big £10. Hurry, the sale must end on the 5th of January. It's big. Delivery fees may apply, subject to availability. See screwfix.com for full T's and C's.
You don't just check in to a Village Hotel. You work out. You jump in. You play on. You tuck in. And drink up. Village Hotels. 33 locations with everything under one roof. A huge gym with pool and great membership opportunities. And a buzzing pub and grill with delicious food, ice-cold beers and live sport. Check out villagehotels.com and work out, stay, meet and play.
Hey, is your Aunt June still coming to Christmas dinner?
Yep, and her new boyfriend.
I'll get the extra chair.
And his daughter.
Oh, and some plates.
Plus her boyfriend. And his two mates, their girlfriends, their neighbours, their second cousins, twin sisters, the mailman, Glenn from down the road, his primary school teacher, my personal trainer, his dog, his accountant Bill, and that lady I met on the bus.
We're going to need to go to IKEA.
From extra plates to bedding and everything in between. Get guests ready.
Oh, and Grandma's staying over.
IKEA, the wonderful everyday.
Game day exclusive with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Rent from the best lineup in the UK. Enterprise has 450 branches with all the vehicles your business needs.
Step up to the Oki for exclusive coverage of the 2025 PDC Darts World Championship. Tonight from 7:30, live on Talksport 2.
That is something special!
Talksport 2 hits the bullseye with live and exclusive commentary direct from Alexandra Palace as the giants of world darts clash in pursuit of the Sid Waddell Trophy.
It's double two!
The 2025 PDC Darts World Championship. Tonight from 7:30, live on Talksport 2.
Talksport 2, official broadcast partner of the Premier League and the English Football League.
Is game day. Halftime classifieds.
This is Game Day exclusive on Talksport 2. I'm Faye Carruthers. Let's take a classified check on the halftime scores. Starting with
Premier League.
Brentford 0, Nottingham Forest 1, Ipswich 0, Newcastle 3, West Ham 0, Brighton 0.
Sky Bet Championship.
Burnley 1, Watford 0, Cardiff 0, Sheffield United 0. That's just kicked off for the second half. Leeds United 1, Oxford United 0, Millwall 0, Blackburn 0 has just kicked off. Plymouth 1, Middlesbrough 0, QPR 0, Preston 1, Sunderland 0, Norwich 1.
Sky Bet League 1.
Barnsley 0, Leyton Orient 2, Blackpool 0, Stevenage 0, Burton 1, Exeter 1, Mansfield 1, Rotherham 0, Northampton 0, Charlton 3, Wigan 1, Shrewsbury 0.
Sky Bet League 2.
Accrington 0, Salford 0, Chesterfield 1, AFC Wimbledon 0, Harrogate 0, Walsall 1, Morecambe 0, Bromley 1, Newport 4, MK Duns 1, Notts County 3, Bradford City 0, Port Vale 0, Carlisle 0 and Swindon 2, Grimsby 0. Wow, some fantastic results, or half-time scores should I say, there earlier on, just in case you missed it, live and exclusive on Talk Sport. Aston Villa 2-1 winners over Manchester City. The pressure continues to pile on Pep Guardiola. 9 defeats in their last 12 games. Absolutely unbelievable for the current champions. Here at Portman Road, the Ipswich Town players are out. They've been sent out early by their manager Kieran McKenna. Still a good 90 odd seconds until the second half kicks off here, but they trail by 3-0 and were booed off at half-time. The Newcastle substitutes warming up just in front of us on the left-hand side of the pitch. Eddie Howe, no doubt, thinking who he can save for this upcoming festive fixture list. Of course, plenty of games across the Talksport network coming up for you over the next few days. And Newcastle, in fact, in action on Boxing Day against Aston Villa on the Talksport app. That's an exclusive, and then exclusively on Talksport on Monday the 30th as well at Manchester United, Old Trafford, an 8 p.m. kickoff. So many games coming up for you. On Boxing Day, you've got a real feast as well. Manchester City Everton is our 12:30 kickoff. On Talksport 2, we've got Chelsea against Fulham. In the evening, we've also got Wolves against Manchester United in the Premier League, a 5:30 kickoff, and then 8 o'clock Liverpool against Leicester. Everything else is available for you either on Talksport 2 or on the Talksport app, including live EFL Championship football as well. What is the second half going to bring for Kieran McKenna's side? I'm sure they will have been told to pull their socks up on this second half, because they absolutely need to. Some shocking goals they conceded in the first half against this Newcastle United side. So I'll hand you back to our commentary team of former Arsenal winger Perry Groves, alongside your match commentator here on Talksport 2, Ian Danter.
Thanks, Faye. And Newcastle are just continuing their form against promoted sides. They do so well against teams coming up from the Championship. They've lost just one of 22 before today against promoted sides and won their last 4. And they are firmly in control of this one. And a half-time substitution has been made by Ipswich Town, and Ali Al-Hamadi has been brought on for Amari Hutchinson at the start of the second half. Al-Hamadi, who was brought from AFC Wimbledon for £1 million and scored against AFC Wimbledon when Ipswich went there early in the season in the League Cup. Ipswich then went out on penalties later that night. So that is more of a striker, and I was surprised, Perry Groves, that given that Delap was suspended, that Al-Hamadi wasn't given the start, so at least the shape of the side and the idea behind it was similar.
And also, Dance, he's just that little bit bigger, you know, because there's a small front line, wasn't it, for Ipswich in that first half. They really missed Liam Delap, the physical presence and the focal point. So Al-Hamadi will go through the middle. It looks like Sammy Spodix was come on this left-hand side, Burns down the right, and Connor Chaplin will just stay as the 10.
Forest Green are 1-1 with Aldershot in the National League, and it's 1-1 as well at the Stadium of Light. Sunderland have equalised at home to Norwich. Dan Ballard for the Black Cats. I'll run you through the lineups here at Portman Road in a minute, but the second half is well underway with Newcastle in their chain strip of white and green. They're attacking the Sir Alf Ramsey stand to our right as we sit at the back of the East of England Cooperative stand. Ipswich in blue shirts and socks, white shorts. They're attacking the Sir Bobby Robson stand to our left. Kieran McKenna just down beneath us. He's decided to make that change at the turnaround. Eddie Howe with his trusty Lieutenant Jason Tyndall just beneath us as well. Gordon wins the ball back for Newcastle. Isak, who got things going inside 30 seconds in the first half with that opening goal. Turns away from a challenge, but he's brought it out of play. So let me run you through the lineups. Ipswich, Murich in goal. Clark, O'Shea, Burgess, Davis, Morsey, Kayuste, Burns, Chaplin, Smodics and Al-Hamadi. Newcastle have Dubravka in goal, then Livramento, Scher, Byrne, Hall, Tonali, Gimaresh, Willock, Murphy, Isak, Gordon. And Perry Groves alongside me this afternoon as the rain has finally stopped. It was absolutely hosing it down about half an hour ago, but whilst the skies are now very, very dark on this winter solstice day, at least the rain has abated. Newport County 5, MK Dons 1. Newport picking up in the second half where they left off at the end of the first. Bobby Campbell with a second. Salford leader Accrington in that local derby, Haji Minoga. Newcastle trying to come forward with Scher, protects the ball away from Smodics, who was trying to take it off him, and Newcastle have it just in front of the centre circle with Guimaraes. Then it's took back to Byrne on the halfway line. Middlesbrough equalise at Plymouth. Johnny Houser makes it Plymouth 1, Middlesbrough 1 in the Championship. And Rangers lead Dundee in the Scottish Prem. Václav Černý putting Philippe Clement's side ahead at Ibrox. Newcastle fans still full of song on the far side of the field in the Cobbold stand. As always, they travel in these ridiculously large numbers, and they've been richly rewarded for that long trip down from the northeast coast.
Yeah, there's 1,500 of them come down today, Dance. So they're buoyed from the midweek win against Brentford, get themselves into a major cup semi-final, and they've just carried on that momentum into the game today.
A second for Nottingham Forest at Brentford, so Brentford's unbeaten home record looks set to go. And it's Anthony Elanga that's got the second for Forest. A year in charge for Nuno Espirito Santo. We saw them beat Ipswich just a couple of weeks ago, Perry. And you have to tip the hat. After Steve Cooper's dismissal, people thought, oh, Nuno Espirito Santo, what kind of appointment is that?
You have to cross yourself when you say that, Dad.
You do, but what a great appointment. It's a perfect fit, it seems. Leif Davis for Ipswich Town. Into the centre circle, turn round the corner, Al-Hamadi's in behind Byrne, but across comes the defender Lewis Hall, and he comes out to Al-Hamadi again. The shot blocked by Byrne. That was a big chance early in the second half. In fact, there was a point where I thought Dan Byrne was kind of having a swipe at Al-Hamadi as he tried to run through. If he caught him, that could have been denying a clear goal scoring opportunity. You know what that normally brings. Morsey finds Clark. Out to Burns on the right wing, just level with the edge of the penalty area. Swirls in a left-footed ball, headed out strongly by Livramento. but it'll break for Cameron Burgess. QPR equaliser home to Preston, that's 1-1. Leighton Orient 3-0 up at Barnsley, Charlie Kelman. And Hibs 3-1 up at Aberdeen. Martin Boyle with a third for the Hibees. Share clears the ball downfield for Newcastle, but it's a poor touch from Jacob Murphy. Davis has it back for the hosts. Works it infield to Kiyuste. Now Morsey. Steps away from Willock, slides it out to Davis again on this left-hand side. Good early ball down the box. Well, it was a good idea, looking for the run of Kiyuste, but just slightly overhit by Lee Davis. 5 minutes gone in the second half on Talksport 2. It is still, as it was at the break, Ipswich 0, Newcastle 3.
Yeah, Ipswich has started on the front foot. You can bet your life that Kieran McKenna, the Ipswich town manager, has had the proverbial hairdryer out at half-time, trying to get reaction from his team. Newcastle have just dropped off a little bit because they're 3-0 up. They're just conserving their energy.
Willock dispossessed. Al Hamady has it again. 25 yards out. Support from Chaplin. Trying to pirouette his way around Tonali. Tonali's too smart for that. Just took it off his toe. And Newcastle bring it clear. Gordon hugging the far left-hand touchline. Lovely ball from Isak to release Lewis Hall down the left-hand side. Early cross looking for Guimaraes. Oh, it's off the post and wide. That would have been a sensational counter-attacking goal from Newcastle United. But as Bruno Guimaraes stooped to get the ball onto his head, it brushed the outside of the post and went out for an Ipswich goal kick.
He should score. Guimaraes, really good attack from Newcastle down their left-hand side. Just coming into Isak. Nice little wall pass out to Lewis Hall on that left-hand side. Just rips the ball in first time. Guimaraes coming in the centre-forward position, round about the penalty spot. Just got too much. Actually, Dance, I think it come off his right shoulder. It didn't even come off his head. He said he hit the post. Should be scoring.
So nearly 4-0. But in the end, it's still 3-0 to Newcastle with 6 minutes gone in the second half. Wigan have a second at home to Shrewsbury in League One. Dale Taylor makes it Wigan 2, Shrewsbury 0. Remember later today, Crystal Palace and Arsenal, Perry's old team, meet at Selhurst. We'll give you regular updates on that in the game day phone-in with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy. Brighton have just taken the lead at West Ham in the Premier League. One of the other 3 o'clock kickoffs, so it's all going the away side's way in the 3 o'clock. Forest 2 up at Brentford, Brighton 1 up at West Ham, and here at Portman Road, Newcastle 3 up against Ipswich. Share finds Livramento in the right back position, up to Jacob Murphy. Tucks the ball in field, but he won't find Guimaraes. It's won by Kayuste. Chaplin back to play, has to work it back to a teammate, finds Cameron Burgess. It's Matt Beeper that got that goal for Brighton, incidentally, at the London Stadium. VAR's checking it. Kiyuste for Ipswich. Finds the captain Morsey in the centre of the Newcastle half. Worked out left to Leif Davis, but again, Newcastle just working Ipswich back towards the halfway line. Tonali wins it back, floats the ball out to Gordon, brings it down neatly just inside the Ipswich half, has to roll it back into the Vistas half for Hall. Byrne and Share now exchanging passes.
If you're just looking at Newcastle, Dance, when they're out of possession now, obviously they were closing down really well in the first half. They've gone like rope-a-dope. They're just sitting back. They're going to a 4-5-1 formation. Just let Ipswich have the ball in front of them.
Gordon finds Isak trying to drag the ball into the area. Important touch from Burgess. It's won back by Jacob Murphy, snaking his way into the area. Finds Isak in front of goal. Toe pokes it in. Brilliant finish from Alexander Isak. Improvised so well. A hat-trick for Isak inside an hour. This one just poked beyond Ari Muric after great work from Jacob Murphy, and Newcastle are going further and further clear into the distance at Portman Road. Ipswich 0, Newcastle United 4.
Dance, from Newcastle's point of view, it's a fantastic goal. Jacob Murphy showing really great feet coming in from the left-hand side, just getting into the box. He's got 4 Ipswich players around him. No one goes to engage him. It's an outrageous back heel from Jacob Murphy. Goes along the 6-yard box. Isak's standing there, and he's got all the time in the world, Dance. You shouldn't be given that amount of time to get a touch with his left foot. Gets it out his feet. Leif Davis should go and close him down. Then he just toe pokes it past Muric, gives him absolutely no chance whatsoever. brilliantly crafted goal from Newcastle's point of view, but shocking defending from Ipswich.
So that's a hat-trick for the Swede. That makes it 10 goals for the season in the Premier League for Alexander Isak. In such great form. Just before we carry on, Ipswich just getting back underway. Nearly 10 minutes gone in the second half. Ipswich 0, Newcastle 4. Let's get back to Alexandra Palace, see how the final match of the afternoon session's going in the PDC World Darts. There for Talksport 2, Mark Wilson.
Yeah, big Newcastle fan Chris Dobie will be pleased with the scoreline there and the scoreline here. He's beaten Alexander Merckx by 3-1, won 6 of the opening 7 legs to race into a 2-0 lead. Merckx won set 3, 3-0, finished really well in that, but Dobie struggled on his doubles, found the finishes at the end, a 1-2-2 the highlight in the final set. It's Dobie 3, Merckx 1.
Thank you, Mark, and 4 matches this evening from Ali Pali, live on Talksport 2 at 7:30. Danny Noppert, Ryan Joyce, Raymond van Barneveld against Nick Kenny, Luke Littler, last year's beaten finalist in Young Sports Personality of the Year, against Ryan Meikle, and Damon Hetter against Connor Scott. Join the boys for Darts on the Radio at 7:30. In between this and that, we've got some live Premiership rugby for you. Sale Sharks against Exeter Chiefs with Andrew McKenna and co at 5:15. Newcastle coming forward again, looking for a fifth. It's inside the area for Willock, who blasts over from the penalty spot. How on earth has he missed that? He'd done all the hard work to wrestle his way into the area and get clear of trouble, but then he skied the effort over the crossbar, and it only ends up being an Ipswich goal kick. 4-0 Newcastle.
Dance, brilliant play from Guimaraes, just getting the ball, just feeding it inside Harry Clark. He said there, Willett gets away from him, just gets in the inside left position, comes into the 18-yard box, gets it on his right foot, and just loses his balance and skies well off the crossbar. This is going to get that. This could be very dangerous for Ipswich, because I thought Newcastle will come out in the second half. They're 3-0. What happens is you just do enough. You think, right, we'll see this game out. We've got loads of games over the Christmas period, but actually, apart from that first 2 or 3 minutes, Newcastle have got themselves back on the front foot. Ipswich defensively is like herding ferrets. They are all over the place. There's no structure to them whatsoever in the back four. Willock should be scoring. It should be 5-0.
Willock's just getting some treatment. Took a blow to the back of the head, I think, as he landed trying to take that shot. So he's getting some treatment for the Newcastle physio. So play hasn't restarted. Meantime, Leeds are 2-0 up against Oxford United. Jayden Bogle with the second for Leeds at Ellen Road. Swindon 3-0 up on Grimsby in League 2. Kabongo Shimanga with his second of the afternoon. Swindon's third. Double change coming up for Ipswich. Calvin Phillips and Jack Taylor are going to be on shortly for Kiyuste and Chaplin. Gateshead 3-0 up at Ebbsfleet in the National League. And I remind you that in the Premier League 3 o'clock kickoffs, it is all going the away side's way. Brighton 1-0 up at West Ham, that goal confirmed for Mats Viper. Forest 2-0 up at Brentford, and cementing their place in the top 4, let's not forget. And Newcastle here 4-0 up at Ipswich, and we'll be back underway as Willock's now just been led to this near touchline, and play will restart with an Ipswich free kick inside their penalty area. Perry Groves.
Yeah, I think that's what happened with Willock as he cut in from that left-hand side, and he just knocked himself off balance. When he hit his shot, and his foot landed on Dar O'Shea's outstretched left foot was on the floor, and he's just twisted his ankle, but I think he's going to be all right.
Wins earlier today in the lunchtime games for Villa, Hull, Portsmouth. You heard that live on Talksport 2. Sheffield Wednesday, Lincoln, Barrow and Doncaster, and a draw between Bristol Rovers and Wrexham. That's the tale of the lunchtime football, and Villa beating Manchester City was the game you heard live on Talksport on Saturday lunchtime. Manchester City fans may want to have more to say about that to Jamie and Jason on the game day phone-in, and Villa fans who seem to have ridden out that little blip they had a few weeks ago, both domestically and in Europe.
You know, if you're Man City, like their punch drunk dance, haven't they? Lost 9 out of the last 12. It's like when Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson, took away that air of invincibility. So if you was a boxer, you'd be actually telling the boxer to retire. You'd be saying, because this Man City team are done. They're going to need another 6 or 7 players. No, in January maybe, beginning of next season. Because this team are completely shot.
And as Perry's mentioned boxing, it would be remiss of me not to say that our coverage from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia starts 7:30 tonight over on Talksport. Tyson Fury, the rematch against Alexander Usyk, and a great undercard as well. Join Jim White and the team out there, Gareth A. Davis, Spencer Oliver, and many, many more. John Rawling, your big fight commentator as well tonight. You're listening to Ipswich 0, Newcastle 4 on Talksport 2 with Sky Sports. Don't forget, you can stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on Now, like Crystal Palace against Arsenal live today. Just search Now Sports. An hour gone at Portman Road. And Newcastle are a bit like Tottenham at Southampton on Sunday. They've almost declared.
Yeah, they're just conserving energy, dance. You just say we've got Tonali who sits at the base of the midfield. He'll just keep helping the ball. Guimaraes is coming a little bit more central now. So there's very, very few games in your professional career that you can actually enjoy. And now Newcastle are in that position because the game was done and dusted at half-time at 3-0. Now at 4-0, it's even more enjoyable for Newcastle.
West Ham have equalised against Brighton. Mohamed Kudus makes it 1-1 at the London Stadium. Livramento charging forward down the right for Newcastle, holds off the challenge of Smodics, keeps the possession well. A real clever footballer, Tino Livramento. Perry and I saw his Premier League debut when he was at Southampton at Everton, and we remember just what a brilliant first half particularly he had at right back.
I think he was just probably 18, I think, wasn't it, at the time. He was absolutely outstanding. We said that, he will go on to bigger and better things. It's exactly what he's done. Just looking at Isak.
Change has been made, by the way. So off goes Kiyuste and Chaplin to allow Phillips and Taylor to come on. So Calvin Phillips, who's not had a great deal of football since coming to Ipswich Town, not featured since the red card against Leicester at the start of November. And there's also a triple change being readied by Newcastle United. Trippier, Barnes and Longstaff all going to be coming on. Willock, Murphy and Livramento, the player we've just picked up, are going off.
I tell you, there's no understanding and compassion, is there, from Eddie Howe making 3 subs at the same time? Does he know what these commentators have to go through?
Burnley 2, Watford 0. Josh Brownhill with the second for Burnley, and Sheffield United at the top of the Championship lead at Cardiff. Kiefer Moore back in Wales gets the goal to put the Blades ahead at the Cardiff City Stadium. Omar Risa must be wondering what's happening. He had great form as an interim manager. He's been given the job permanently, and they can't get themselves sorted at the moment. What a ball from Guimaraes to find Gordon as Newcastle come forward. Gordon into the area, tries to slide it into the back of the net and makes it a comfortable save in the end for Muric. 4-0 Newcastle.
There's the ball of the afternoon from Guimaraes in the centre circle with the outside of his right foot, just spins it across to Anthony Gordon, comes inside, and it's a really tame shot with his right foot. Easy save for Muric, like a P-roller basically. But as I say, this Newcastle now are enjoying themselves. There's a bit of exhibition football going on. Isak's just overplayed by trying to do a Cruyff turn on the volley.
Here's Burns coming forward for Ipswich. 3 to aim at in the penalty area. Burns is going to go alone and fires it across the face of goal, and it just drifts behind for a goal kick in the end. Went between the on-rushing strikers and the goalkeeper, and Dubravka knew he could just let it go, and here comes that triple change for Newcastle. So Trippier on for Livramento, straight swap at right back, and then elsewhere Harvey Barnes is coming on for Jacob Murphy, and Sean Longstaff from the Newcastle Academy replacing Joe Willock. So like for like pretty much everywhere on the pitch there, Perry Groves.
Yeah, just fresh legs. Jacob Murphy's had a really good afternoon, D'Antoni. Been very instrumental in Newcastle's goals. Got one himself, fantastic back heel for the 4th goal, which obviously Ipswich have allowed him to do, which is really bad defending, but he's looked really confident, Jacob Murphy. Every time he's got the ball, he's been very, very direct.
Gateshead have a 4th at Ebbsfleet in the National League. Ebbsfleet 0, Gateshead 4. York are doing well in the National League this year, towards the top, along with Forest Green and Barnet. They lead Southend by 1-0. Dipo Akinyemi puts the Minster men ahead. Newcastle playing the ball out from the back, and they win a free kick as Guimaraes got shoved in the back there. And it's going to be a yellow card for Sam Morsey. He does like a yellow, does the Egyptian captain of Ipswich. Don't think it's that many this season, but that was a very swiftly issued yellow card from Stuart Atwell.
I was going to say, that wouldn't be a yellow card that then sees him out of the Boxing Day fixtures, is it?
You cynic. Honestly.
Yeah, probably been a bit too harsh.
Wigan 2, Shrewsbury 1. Will Aimson gets a goal back for Shrewsbury with an own goal at the DW. Wigan 2, Shrewsbury 1. You're listening to Ipswich 0, Newcastle 4 on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever the mission, home or away, Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day. Long ball downfield for Newcastle, looking for Isak, who scored a hat-trick this afternoon to get up to double figures in the Premier League this season. Al Hamadi trying to charge through the middle. What an interception from Fabian Schär. Went to ground, had to make it, and did it superbly. Guimaraes floating the ball out, looking for Trippier on this near side, but Sammy Smodic's tracking back into his own half, will win it back. Leeds 3, Oxford 0. Welcome back to Championship management, Gary Rowett. Brendan Aronson with a third for Leeds, and Charlton are 4-0 up at Northampton now. Greg Doherty with a 4 for the Addicts.
So that Leeds won the last 9 at home in the Championship, and the 10 all season. I don't think any team's won more at home.
And yet the fans aren't necessarily all having Daniel Barker. Amazing, really.
Well, he would have quelled it today, to be fair, wouldn't he?
You would hope so.
Just like, yeah, calm down, have a nice Christmas.
So Leeds are 3-0 up, Sheffield United 1 up, Burnley 2 up, towards the top of the Championship. Newcastle trying to get back to the upper reaches of the Premier League table, 4-0 up and pushing for more. Guimaraes down the left-hand side of the area, tried to flick it across for Isak, who wants a fourth himself. And it was put behind for a Newcastle corner where the Cobbold stand meets the Sir Alf Ramsey.
Brilliant stretch of play from Sean Longstaff on this right-hand side for Newcastle. Just had a little look over his left shoulder, just whipped the ball out to Anthony Gordon on the left-hand side. There's Guimaraes coming in on the underlap, just couldn't quite get his cross across 6-yard box, corner for Newcastle over on their left-hand side.
Which Gordon will take, a right-footed in-swinger, takes it short to Lewis Hall, left-hand corner of the area, gives it back to Gordon, first-time ball whipped to the far post. Byrne, all 6'7" of him, somehow kept it in play, volleyed over the top by Barnes as it dropped for him 15 yards out, and it goes out of play harmlessly from the Ipswich point of view for a goal kick. Quarter of the game to go, 4-0 to Newcastle. So yeah, those scorelines in the Championship means the top 3 stays the same. 1, 2, 3, Sheffield United, Leeds and Burnley. Sunderland, Blackburn and Middlesbrough in 4th, 5th and 6th are all drawing currently, so the top 3 starting to open up a bit of an advantage. And Watford, losing at Burnley, are dropping out of the top 6.
Dan Burn was like a felling of a pine tree there at the far post, wasn't it? As the ball come over from Lewis Hall, he was just like jogging backwards and basically falling over, and as he was falling over, he managed to head the ball back across the 6-yard box, and Harvey Barnes should be doing better with a volley, smash it over the crossbar.
Ball's back with Dubravka, still keeping goal with Nick Pope injured. I remember Dubravka making his debut for Newcastle against Manchester United. Myself and Ray Houghton, who was on Talksport 2 earlier today at Portsmouth, were watching, and we found out he was on loan from Sparta Prague, and he played that well that day. We were saying, what's the number 1 at Sparta Prague like if this guy's the number 2 and can't get a game? And he's been at Newcastle for some time, been pushed down the order, but he's not really been troubled this afternoon. Martin Dubravka, has he, Perry Groves?
Can't remember him having a save to make, Dance. You know, what he's done is sort of fielded the ball from back passes, basically. Ipswich, can't remember having a shot on target. I'm just surprised with Eddie Howe actually leaving Isak on, because he's got his hat-trick, you know what I mean? He wants to protect him a little bit.
Ball's out on the Ipswich right with Wes Burns up against Lewis Hall. Tries to play the crossing, comes back off Hall onto Wes Burns. Hall wants to protect it behind for a goal kick, and he's done that. Very cleverly done. Plymouth are back in front against Middlesbrough in the Championship, and Sunderland have come from behind to lead against Norwich, who are down to 10 men, and Sheffield United have a second at Cardiff. Plenty happening in the Championship right now. That could be a real important scoreline for Wayne Rooney at Plymouth if it stays that way at Home Park. As I mentioned, they were bottom of the Championship at the start of play. They could be climbing out of the bottom three with that win and sending Cardiff to the foot of the table and putting Hull back in there. Hull beat Swansea earlier today and were out of the bottom three before the 3 o'clock games began. Championship's just nuts every single year. Absolutely balmy. Walsall have a second at Harrogate. Uncle Albert's got it. Albert Adoma with a second for the Saddlers. What a season they're having under Matt Sadler. Here's Ali Al-Hamadi darting down the right side of the box for Ipswich. Won a corner off Dan Bird, and in fairness to the Ipswich fans, they may have booed their team off at half-time, but they're still giving their team encouragement. 20 minutes to go and 4-0 down.
To be fair, Dan, I think it's because they've seen effort from their team in the second half. You know, they haven't just rolled over, had their bellies tickled. They started off the first half, you know, on the front foot, that first 5-10 minutes. Then obviously when the fourth goal went in from Isak, that took the wind out of sails a little bit, but each player is still giving everything they've got, and that's why you see the applause here from the Ipswich fans that are getting behind their team, because they know that they're needed. They know that if the crowd turn, then there's no way back from, not just in this game but all season.
Davis with a corner at the Bobby Robson stand end, deep to the far post. Up goes O'Shea, nodded it down, almost broke for Burgess, but it's hammered away by Newcastle for a throw. Keepermore got that second for Sheffield United. Joe Bellingham scored the goal for Sunderland to put them 2-1 up, and it was Darko Giabi for Plymouth to make it 2-1 at Home Park against Middlesbrough. Leeds have got a fourth against Oxford United at Ellen Road, and Exeter 2-1 up at Burton in League One. Again, just 2 wins all season for the Brewers, struggling again at the Pirelli. Ball's out of play for an Ipswich throw, bang on halfway. Clark takes it. O'Shea lets the ball run across his body. The ball's played into the Newcastle half of the field. Great tenacity from Ali Al-Hamadi, barreling his way up to the edge of the area. The ball just wouldn't sit down for him. He couldn't get the shot away, and Newcastle get it clear. But that's better from the Ipswich striker, showing a bit of spirit and a bit of tenacity.
Yeah, and just a little bit more direct, used his body well, got himself turned, got himself into the box. Really good covering tackle from Fabian Schär, just sticking out a long left foot, the outside of his left foot, getting the block in, making sure they're surrounding the ball.
Calvin Phillips with a trademark ping from left to right. Oh, but Wes Burns can't control it. Trickles under his right boot and out of play for a throw to Leeds United, as Miggy Almiron's going to get a brief cameo here for Newcastle United, and it is Alexander Isak who's getting a rest, as Perry Groves said should happen about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, just wrapping me cotton wool, getting me his Winnebago with his robe on, pair of fairy slippers, go and have an ice bath, bit of yoga, chill out. Just talking about his
that's a long list of things to do. That would confuse.
That's on his rider.
Oh, is it?
Just look on his goals in.
Does he have a bowl of M&Ms with all the brown ones taken out as well? Alexander Isak, a hat-trick. He's had 5 shots, all on target. Passing accuracy of, well, just over 2/3 of his passes are accurate, but the important thing is all his shots today have been on target, and 3 of them have gone in.
Well, 2/3 of his passes have gone into the back of the net.
That's very true. So Almiron on for him. That means Gordon's moved into a more central position now for Newcastle.
It's just Almiron out on this right-hand side. Arby Barnes go on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Just looking at his goal scoring in 2024, he's got 23 Premier League goals. So it's only Haaland and Cole Palmer who've got more. And he's been injured for quite a period of that time.
And Callum Wilson is out injured for a while. Again, he's been so luckless with injuries lately, the Newcastle and England striker Callum Wilson. Don't know when we'll see him back in a Magpie shirt. It's Manor Solomon, by the way, that got that fourth for Leeds United at home to Oxford. And Newcastle, through Kieran Trippier, lobbed the ball downfield. Gordon tries to bring it down the sky. as it comes over his right shoulder. Moritz with another risky clearance, almost straight to Harvey Barnes, but Clark bailed out his goalkeeper by getting there in the nick of time.
I can't believe that Harry Clark hasn't said to Moritz, what are you doing? What? I've got my back to goal, you're playing it to me, got Harvey Barnes is breathing up, you can see Harvey Barnes, why are you passing it? And Harry Clark just turns away as if nothing's happened.
Tonali will roll the ball back to Dubravka. Just over a quarter of an hour to go on Talksport 2. Don't forget, live Premiership rugby coming up at 5:15. Sale Sharks against Exeter Chiefs. Andrew McKenna and the team live in Salford. 2-2 at Plymouth. Middlesbrough have equalised again at home park. Newport 5, MK Dons 3. Comebacks on for MK. Luke Offord gets the third for MK against the Exiles. Exeter in front at Burton. Milenik Ali, their striker. And it was Hayden Hackney that got the second equaliser for Middlesbrough down there in Devon. So a quarter of an hour to play exactly of normal time here at Portman Road. If you're just tuning into Game Day Exclusive on Talksport 2, let me remind you, Newcastle were 1-0 up inside 30 seconds. And they haven't looked back since. 4-0 up now, a hat-trick for Alexander Isak, a goal and an assist for Jacob Murphy. And Ipswich are just, well, they're working hard, but there's a visible gap in quality.
Yeah, they're playing with professional pride, which is understandable. So Newcastle have just dropped off a level because they're just 4-0 up. Elhammond is just smashing the back of Guimaraes.
Yeah,
frustration.
Yellow card for the Iraqi striker for Ipswich Town. Guimaraes gives him a withering look as he gets slowly to his feet.
Guimaraes has actually got to his feet and he wanted to look to see who'd done it. So he's just looking at his number, obviously, and you think, OK, number 16, I know it's you. I'll guarantee you within the next 5 to 10 minutes.
Are you guaranteeing me a Norman Hunter Francis Lee style?
I don't think there's going to be the haymakers at the side of the pitch.
OK.
But
that's one for the teenagers.
Exactly. He's just looked at it, Guimaraes, think, right, there'll be a little late tack or studs down the back of his calf.
Any of our younger listeners who want to look it up, Norman Hunter Francis Lee at Derby County in the early 70s. You wouldn't believe it happened on a football pitch in this country.
I used to work for Franny Lee, right, for his company, and Franny Lee said he waited for him in the changing rooms, and Norman Hunter and the physio locked themselves in the changing room because Franny Lee wasn't go after him.
And Francis Lee was a good foot shorter than Norman Bites Your Legs Hunter.
And he had 2 Jack Russells, Franny Lee, and what did he call them? Norman and Hunter.
Newcastle coming forward. Harvey Barnes down the left-hand side of the area, faced up by Burns, ships it to the far post. It just skims off the head of Almiron, who was trying to head it back from whence it came to tee up a teammate. But instead it's an Ipswich goal kick, and Newcastle have not declared here. They want more. Another double change coming up for Ipswich Town. Nathan Broadhead and Glenn Johnson are being introduced. Sammy Smodix is making way for Broadhead, and Wes Burns making way for Glenn Johnson. Elsewhere, York City in the National League, 3-0 up on Southend United now. That's David Ajiboye. A reminder in the Premier League, 1-1 at West Ham. Kudus equalising Beeper's strike. Forest 2-0 up at Brentford, and therefore handing Brentford's first home defeat of the season, it would appear. Earlier today, Aston Villa dished out another defeat to Manchester City. 2-1 the scoreline at lunchtime. And here at Portman Road, Ipswich are still without a home win, and it'll be 9 matches at Portman Road without 3 points in the bag. Here's Al Hamady though in the area, trying to put some respectability onto the scoreline. Finds Broadhead, shot is blocked by Dubravka, blocked it out in front of him, but there were Newcastle players there way before any Ipswich players were on the scene for the bits and pieces. Now Johnson looking to pick it up right hand side of the area. Lewis Hall trying to protect it behind. Johnson is adjudged to have fouled him, and the Ipswich fans over on that far side are not happy at all. Plymouth 3, Middlesbrough 2. Plymouth back in front for a third time, and Watford have a goal back at Burnley. That's 2-1 to the Clarets in the Championship. Mustafa Bundu with the goal for Plymouth, and Kwadwo Bar got the goal back for Watford at Turf Moor. Goals going in all over the place. Falkirk leading Hamilton in the Scottish Championship, looking to get back into the SPFL for the first time in a number of years, the Bairns. Free kick to Newcastle United. We've got 11 minutes to go, Perry Groves, and the fans are still very much engaged in this game, even though the scoreline's beyond them.
Yep, and looking round, Dance, nobody's left. Normally, if you're home, if your team's down, the home team fans normally have a little wander off, don't they? So we've got 10 minutes of normal time to go, but to be fair to the Ipswich Town fans, they've stayed in the stadium.
Well, there were Southampton fans leaving at 3-0 last Sunday. Never mind when it got to 5. Ball's out of play, and another change coming up. Lewis Miley's getting a run out, and Bruno Guimaraes will not have a chance to settle the score as he might want to see it with Ali Al-Hamadi, because he's getting a rest, and he's had another very creative and inventive afternoon in Newcastle's midfield. It's currently Ipswich Town 0, sorry Perry, Ipswich Town Newcastle 4. For the latest odds, head to William Hill, the official betting partner of Talksport 2's Premier League coverage, where right now you can get Harvey Barnes to score next to 8-1. Anthony Gordon also priced at 8-1. If you don't fancy any further goals, that's priced at 19-20. That's all thanks to William Hill. 18 plus, begambleaware.org. Perry.
Yeah, just talking about Guimaraes. Obviously, he just plays to the right-hand side of the midfield now, just in front of Tonali, but it was him and Tonali that really ran that midfield in the first half. You know, they swap as well, where sometimes Guimaraes goes in front of Tonali, so the rotation's good, and they're obviously both very, very good on the ball.
Newport 6, MK Dons 3. Bobby Campbell gets another for the Exiles. Apparently it's 3-3 down at Home Park now. Middlesbrough have equalised a third time at Plymouth. Goodness me. And it's Emmanuel Latte-Lat who's got that goal to bring Middlesbrough level for a third time. Cool. How's your nerves if you're a Plymouth or Middlesbrough fan down there this afternoon? Long ball over the top for Newcastle, trying to get Lewis Hall in behind Clark, but Clark and Johnson tidy up for Ipswich. Ball flicked in field, and Taylor, who scored that late-headed winner for Joy Unconfined in the away end at Molineux last week, keeps possession alive for Ipswich. Johnson just shy of the halfway line, being pressurised by Miley, gives the ball back to O'Shea. Good ball into the centre circle. Broadhead can run at the Newcastle back line. Options right and left. Plays it left to Al-Hamadi. Inside the area. Gets it onto his right and drives it wastefully wide. And it goes out of play for a goal kick. And another half chance goes begging. And once more, Dubravka is not troubled by an effort on goal from Ipswich Town.
Yeah, good play from Broadhead initially in the number 10 position, just getting the ball, then bringing it out to Al-Hamadi, and Al-Hamadi just coming in from that left-hand side. He's just trying to get it onto his right foot, takes probably too many touches. Longstaff gets himself back, gets his foot across the ball, and in the end it's Al-Hamadi who just smashes the ball high and wide. As you said, doesn't make Dubravka make a save.
I think he's had one save to make in the entire 90 minutes. And we've got 8 minutes of that 90 to play at Portman Road. Apparently it's a 378-mile trip from Teesside down to Plymouth.
I think the trains have to be well stocked up when they jump on at Ipswich and getting themselves into London.
Now out to the left-hand side, Ipswich trying to make headway. The ball's out of play. It's a Newcastle throw. Apparently it's light traffic at the moment if you're going to be heading back from Middlesbrough to from Plymouth to Middlesbrough.
You are the guru. You're actually AA Auto route now as well, aren't you? Other routes are available.
Yeah, got the chip in my head. Lewis Miley for Newcastle.
What's it like at the Dartford Bridge at the minute? Any updates at all?
Oh, shabby.
No?
I bet it's dreadful. You don't need a chip in your head for that. Ball over the top for Newcastle again, trying to get Gordon away this time. Almiron was up there too, but Ipswich deal with it well enough. Tucked back to Cameron Burgess. And Muric clearing along his 6-yard line from left to right. He does find O'Shea, and he tries to release Al-Hamadi down the right-hand side. Tonali's gone out there with him just to hold him up. Al-Hamadi keeps possession well.
In this second half, Dan, Al-Hamadi has given a focal point. It has been a difference because he's physically obviously stronger, his movement's good, he looks to try and get him behind, he's holding the ball up a bit more, so I think maybe Kieran McKenna at the end of the game, you know, with his coaching staff, might actually think we've made a bit of a rick there by not starting.
Well, it's a big leap, remember, going from League 2 where he was at the start of last season all the way through to the Premier League, but he's got the physicality, that's for sure, and the ball sticks with him more often than not. Miley brings it away for Newcastle, just shy of the halfway line, gives it to Anthony Gordon. Gordon trying to release Almiron through the middle, ball just skips away from him, and it's Muric who can clear his lines. Broadhead runs into the brick wall that is Sandro Tonali. Wow, what a game he's had. I know I've said it a couple of times, but it's the first time I've watched Sandro Tonali live, and he just looks an absolute specimen.
Do you know who he's very similar to, Dan? He's very similar to Rodri when he gives that screen in front of the back four.
When he's suggesting Pep's going to put a bid in January.
I wouldn't bet on it.
Wigan 2, Shrewsbury 2. George Lloyd gets a late equaliser for the Shrews, and Salford look to have nicked the point to Accrington Stanley. 2-0 Salford lead. Cole Stockton, Cole the goal, with the second for the Ammies. Don't forget, we're in Salford next on Talksport 2 with live Premiership Rugby Union, Sale Sharks against Exeter Chiefs. Bit of blood coming from the nose of Anthony Gordon, or is it the lip?
Gordon's alive.
Oh, very good. Ball's back with, it's his lip rather than his nose. Just getting a bit of treatment there, a bit of a 1001 adrenaline solution, I think, like the boxers have, like Fury and Usyk will be using later in Riyadh. Our coverage starts at 7:30 on Talksport. And if you're not a fight fan, what about the flights and the darts at Ali Pali? Because our coverage of the evening session in the PDC World Darts Championship will be at 7:30. Free kick for Ipswich after Al-Hamadi was cleaned out on the halfway line by Fabian Scher, and the free kick's been taken quickly, looking for Broadhead, who's offside. He went too early for the free kick, spotted by the assistant on the far side. 4-0 Newcastle.
Just a little glimpse there as well, right, with Al-Hamadi. When it comes into him, he gets his body across Fabian Scher. So Scher comes in and tries to obviously win the ball. He gets his team a foul. Ipswich can keep it. I know they've given it away cheaply because Broad's offside, and they get a little bit further up the pitch. They couldn't do that in the first half.
Dan Burn works it back to Dubravka. Right-footed clearance from the goalkeeper. Burgess should head that clear. Drops in the centre circle. And it was Phillips that got there first for Ipswich, but Lewis Hall can tidy up and give it back to Dubravka once again. Ipswich next, Arsenal away, Chelsea at home, Fulham away, before they play Bristol Rovers here in the FA Cup. So 3 tricky fixtures on the way for the Tractor Boys.
Thing is, well, with Kieran McKenna, he's got his, principles of way of playing, but when you're playing in the Premier League, make teams work hard to score against you. Make them do something out of the ordinary. Today, Newcastle haven't had to, although they've been performing very, very good. If you look at all the goals, they're all individual mistakes from Ipswich's point of view.
Well, the first goal came from them passing the ball straight out of play from their own kick-off.
Exactly, giving possession away to Fabian Scher, who then puts the ball down the line to Murphy, and Burgess is 2 yards behind the rest of his back four.
Down the left-hand side, Lewis Hall finds Miley infield for Newcastle. Miley floats the ball to the right-hand side, and Miggy Almiron, right-hand corner of the penalty area. Longstaff takes over, tries to flick it down the inside right channel for Anthony Gordon, and then Trippier hits it against Davis and wins a throw. Almiron collects the throw-in down this near side in Newcastle right. 2 minutes of normal time to go. They do fancy a fifth. Seems to me that Newcastle are quite happy to press on and look for another goal here. 5-0 to Charlton at Northampton. QPR, a late goal against Preston. They lead 2-1 at the Loft. Here's Lewis Hall, great run into the area. 3 to pull it back to. Almiron was at the far post, but the ball plucked out of the air by Muric because the cross didn't have the pace that Lewis Hall wanted. 4-0 Newcastle.
Did brilliantly initially, Lewis Hall, just getting off Harvey Barnes. Fantastic feet, then gets himself into the 18-yard box, and he's picked the right option because he's just trying to dink it up to the far post for Almiron. It's got to be more of a pitching wedge. He's hit the 7-9, it's gone a little bit too flat. Then Muric just plucks the ball out of the air.
We're heading for 4 minutes of minimal added time here at Portman Road. There's 6 minutes of added time underway at the London Stadium, where West Ham and Brighton are still lots at 1 apiece. 5 minutes of added time at Brentford, where Forest are 2 up. Here's Broadhead for Ipswich Town, piling forward up to the edge of the area, runs into Lewis Hall, and the ball deflects out of play for a throw, and Lewis Hall desperate to protect that clean sheet, and that's what Newcastle are after here. They don't want to give an easy goal away at the end of the match. They want their clean sheet bonus. 4-0 they lead.
Very much so. Good play initially from Broadhead. Again, he's been very lively. He's coming on in the second half, playing in the 10 position, gets the ball out of his feet, maybe just doesn't pass it early enough to Johnson out on his right hand side. That gives Lewis Hall the chance to get back and get his challenge in, and then Broadhead just hits it off for a goal kick for Newcastle. Not going to be any rush to get the ball forward, just keeping it out the back.
Ball fired out to the right hand side for Newcastle, brilliantly kept in play by the chest of Kieran Trippier. Now Almiron jinking his way up to the halfway line. The 4 minutes of minimum stoppage time is underway now here on Talksport 2 at Portman Road. 4-touch from Al-Hamadi. It's first of the game, really, in fairness to him, and Newcastle have it back.
I just heard the shout of nuts there from Andy Gordon. Al-Hamadi just put it through his legs.
Did you say nuts or megs?
Nuts. Okay. It's normally on me, to be fair. I couldn't stop thinking the corridor, that was my problem.
Dan Burn bringing the game down to walking pace for Newcastle United. The job long since done for the Toon Army, whose supporters will head back up to Tyneside in really good heart. And that is another glutful of goals for Newcastle. They're enjoying themselves in front of goal. Newcastle will go up to 7th, just a point behind Manchester City with this win that they're getting. They started the day, remember, in 12th, so they've leapfrogged Bournemouth, Brighton, Fulham and Tottenham and Brentford. Although some of those sides aren't playing today. There's games tomorrow. Sunday session will have you covered on Talksport with Sam Matterface and Perry. You're at Tottenham tomorrow, aren't you?
Yep, false nose and glasses. Under the radar.
Liverpool. I'll be at Ali Pally for the afternoon and evening sessions of the PDC darts as we go into day 8 at Alexandra Palace.
Just looking at Newcastle's squad as well, Dan. It's like the 5 subs that have come on: Trippier, Longstaff, Miley, Almiron and Harvey Barnes. That's not a massive drop down. You know, them players are at the same standard of players that they're replacing. Obviously, Isak is the one glaring player maybe that they can't replace, but on the others, they've got quite a good squad depth, Newcastle, when all their players are fit. And talking about Isak as well, his movement is brilliant. He ends up on the left wing, he ends up on the right wing, he goes in behind, but his hat-trick today, 2 of his goals in the 6-yard box, and the other one's from 10 yards, which was a brilliant volley down into the ground in the centre of the goal.
Newcastle fans cheering every completed pass as they watch their team bring it out from the back through. Dan Burn finds Miley, slides into the path of Anthony Gordon, who can charge over the halfway line. Now he plays it to Harvey Barnes, who's in behind Burgess, across the face of goal, it's blocked, knocked back to Longstaff, he can't get the shot away, but it's tucked in by Dan Burn, right on the line, and the flag belatedly goes off for offside. Burn sliding on his knees, he thinks he's got a 5th, but the referee and the assistant are about to let him down, and he's just realised.
Dan, have a look over your right shoulder, mate, and have a look at the assistant on this side, because he's just done a massive knee slide in front of all the Newcastle fans on the far side, and even the Newcastle fans are like, mate, it's going to be chalked off. There's no point in sliding over towards us.
It just depends who the touch came off, whether it was off Longstaff or whether it was off Morsey. I think it's Longstaff who got the touch. And Dan Burn was standing right on the goal line, to tuck it away.
Even then, Dad, I have no idea why Harvey Barnes is passing. It's a brilliant ball from Anthony Gordon.
Yeah, he was in behind Burgess in a way, wasn't he? Yeah.
Exactly, so I don't see why he's not shooting. He's tried to cross it to Dan Burn. Dan Burn puts his hands on his head because he thinks he's going to have a tap in. Then he comes back from the far post, and the assistant officer side is flagged for offside, which will be checked by VAR. But it's just overplaying there from Harvey Barnes. He should be the one who's put it in the back of the net.
Millwall look to have won it late on in the Championship against Blackburn. David Livermore is the interim manager, and Mihailo Ivanovic with a 96th minute winner, it seems, for the London Lions. That goal has been ruled out. It stays 4-0 to Newcastle, and Dan Burn's got his knees muddy for nothing.
And it's not exactly incognito, is he, Dan Burn? Is it 8'8", just trying to sneak back?
6'7", he's like Nikola Zigic was for my lot back in the day.
Exactly, trying to sneak back from an offside
position.
position.
Can't do that when you're 6'7".
It's not working.
We played the 4 minutes of minimum added time, but there'll be a bit more to add on because of that VAR delay. Here come Newcastle, maybe one last chance for them to get a fifth goal. No, Sal, Muddy for Nothing was not a Dire Straits song. I know what you're thinking. Hartlepool 1, Yeovil 1 in the National League. There goes the full-time whistle. Ipswich's wait for a home Premier League win goes on and on and on. That's 9 here at Portman Road without a 3-point haul, whilst Newcastle have scored 17 goals in their last 6 games. 4 here this afternoon, including a hat-trick for Alexander Isak to get to double figures for the season himself. Jacob Murphy with the other. And remember, Newcastle had gone ahead inside 30 seconds. And from that moment, when Isak swept home from Jacob Murphy's cross, Newcastle never looked back. The Toonami faithful will travel back up to Tyneside in very, very good heart. But for Ipswich Town, more soul-searching, as another game in front of their own does not bring them the victory that came so often when they were a Championship side last season here. Full time at Portman Road, Ipswich Town 0, Newcastle United 4.
Well, it was all done and dusted really in the first half, Perry, wasn't it? But I do feel as if Ipswich came out with a bit more intent in the second half, but again, the same kind of mistakes, just undoing them. Let's talk about Newcastle though, because they've been in such an upward turn at the moment, scoring goals for fun. Second 4-0 win in a row. Could have just been 5, to be honest, could have been 9. Anthony Gordon himself had a couple that he probably should have buried. It was a brilliant performance from them, but they were gifted a couple of those goals by Ipswich Town.
Yeah, very much. I said before the game, Faye, didn't I? I said like a spaghetti western, didn't I? Newcastle, like the good, the bad and the ugly. Well, they came here today looking for a few dollars more, and they've left with a fistful of dollars because they have been absolutely excellent in this game today. Because as you said there, Ipswich did make it easy for them because they gifted them with like very basic individual mistakes for the goals, but you still have to work for your goals. And in the first half I was really impressed with their pressing. I thought it was miles more cohesive than Ipswich. The closing down was great with Isak started it, then Gimres would follow in and Tonali would come in afterwards, Gordon coming in for the left hand side. So they put Ipswich under pressure. I mentioned Sandro Tonali, and Dance and myself were talking about how good he was in that change position where he's playing at the base of the midfield three, obviously with Willock and Gimres in front of him in the first half. He was outstanding. So right through the middle, Newcastle had more physicality than what Ipswich did, and Ipswich players just walking round clapping their fans. To be fair, there was a few boos, wasn't there? Like, I think rather than angry boos, it was more
frustration.
Boos of disappointment and frustration. You know, it wasn't really aggressive. The Ipswich fans stayed with their team in the second half. They mentioned it again, they didn't leave, you know. So, you know, when your team's 4-0 down, there's normally a mass exodus.
I think the boos probably stem from the way that they conceded that third
Without
goal.
a doubt, yeah.
Yeah, that's what
it was embarrassing, wasn't it? And Muric isn't going to want to look back at it anytime soon. And again, it just, you know, we talk about it every week, and it makes me feel like we're really old, but we've all watched a lot of football. Perry has played in a lot of football matches, playing out for the back. We've already seen Russell Martin lose his job as a result of it. Sometimes, in the context of a game, just don't.
Exactly, because I know your manager wants you to play in a certain style and keep to your principles, right? But you have to have game management. You have to have a knowledge of yourself. Say, this isn't we saw with Spurs against Manchester United with Fraser Forster when Spurs are 3-0 up and they go 3-1, he gives the ball away first one, and then it's like, no, just smack it long for 10-15 minutes and we'll get ourselves out of this. Does the same thing again, they can see. Same thing with Muric here today. You're 2-0 down, just coming into half-time. You're still in the game at 2-0, right? Because if you nick a goal, the crowd gets on your side again, then you get momentum. It should have just been, I'm going to smash it. I'm going to smash it long. If I'm going to give it away, I'll give it away in the opposition's half, even though obviously Ipswich, we said about how many come and give more physicality. And he tries to roll it into Kajuse. Kajuse doesn't really want the ball. You know, he's thinking, well, I'm facing you, I'm on the edge of my own 18, but I know that Guimaraes is breathing down my neck. I don't really want it. And he's rolled it to him. Guimaraes just gets his toe into it. He actually gets an assist because he gets the toe. And he goes to Isak, who's unmarked on the edge 6-yard box, rolls the ball in the back of the net, and the game is then done and dusted.
Yep.
From that one person's lack of responsibility, and actually reading the game. And I think I might sound like a bit of a dinosaur, but I think in the modern day game, the thing that's changed, players individually don't take responsibility. And I didn't see one Ipswich Town player shout and be angry and have a row with Muric.
No.
They just all turn around as if to say,
well, that was inevitable.
Right, we've conceded another one. Yeah. There's no anger.
No.
Do you know what I mean? We're getting frustrated, us four, like Sal, yourself, dancing, me watching it. And on the pitch, it's just the body language of players is like hunched over, turn around.
We don't have
away.
a dog in the fight.
Exactly.
We're the neutrals.
This is what I find very bizarre, and I'll tell you what, we talked pre-match, didn't we, about Ipswich having real fight and being close on a few occasions and being unlucky on a few occasions. I didn't see any fight from them apart from when El Mohammadi came on at half-time. There just wasn't any.
No, he gave them more physicality up front. I thought Broadhead did okay when he came on. You give him, he's buzzing around a little bit, but it's easy to play when your team's, I know it sounds silly, but there's no pressure on when your team's 3-4-0 down. And Newcastle had dropped down the level because they're just trying to see the game out. But you said there, if you look at all 4 goals, the first one, Burgess is 2 yards behind the rest of his back 4. The second one, which is Jacob Murphy, when Gordon cuts inside, he goes inside Morsey, goes inside another 3 players, no one tackles him. Murphy has the time to get a touch and then think, I'm going to get a shot here. Smash over Muric, which I think he should save it. The fourth one for Isak's hat-trick, it's a back heel from Jacob Murphy.
A lovely back heel.
It's a brilliant back heel.
Terrible defending.
But he's got 4 players around him. So you could go through all of those goals. And Muric, obviously, the third one, which we've said already just for half-time. So I think that Kieran McKenna will just blame individual mistakes for the goals. But it's still, even in their press wasn't particularly it wasn't aggressive in the first half. When they're trying to press, there was no belief that they was going to press. Smodic might have gone on his own, or Hutchinson might have gone on his own, and they look round and nobody else is there, where Newcastle just looked far more assured.
Yeah, comfortable.
Yes,
almost. You must be rubbing your hands with glee, because Ipswich are next in action live on Talksport in an exclusive on Friday the 27th of December at the Emirates against Arsenal. 8:15 kickoff.
I thought you would say how easy it is going to be choose man of the match.
No, that's next. But thanks for teeing it up for me, because it is time for us to pick our man of the match with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Man of the match on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has vans of all shapes and sizes. So if you've got a plan, we've got a van.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, Perry, but it's difficult, isn't it? Because Sandro Tonali had a fantastic game, but surely you're going for the man who walked away with the match ball tucked under his arm.
Absolutely. Jacob Murphy, mentioned dispatches because he was excellent. Scored and had an assist as well, and he's playing with an abundance of confidence. He said there about Tonali was outstanding. I sort of compared him, to Rodri, and that's how he is for Newcastle at the minute. But Alexander Isak, as a centre forward, and we've watched him live today, and his movement is brilliant. He links up play really well. He will end up on the left wing sometimes, on the right wing sometimes, and he's not lazy. He'll set the press off. But as I said earlier, he's got sometimes you can't teach strikers instinct. He's got an instinct to be in the centre. I know it sounds ridiculous, but in between the posts. 2 of his goals, obviously, in the 6-yard box. The other one is a brilliant volley, which is fantastic technique, where he actually volleys it into the ground because he knows that the ground's wet and it's going to skip past Muric. So I just thought, I mean, he's going to get it. He would have got it if he hadn't touched the ball. He touched the ball 3 times, got a hat-trick. He still would have got it away from home. But also his general play. And he's not a lazy centre forward. As I said earlier, it's 23 goals he's got in the Premier League in 2024. Only Haaland and Cole Palmer have got more. I think Haaland's 26 and Cole Palmer 25. So I just like to thank Isaac, actually, because it's just made the job a lot easier.
It's just been so much fun, hasn't it, watching him? And actually, I'm looking at the heat map of him, and there is a great big massive dot right where the penalty spot is, 6 yards out. Perfect, isn't it?
Exactly.
Perfect.
Sometimes football is very simple. And he makes it look easy, but you still have to read the situations and read the games and be in the right place at the right time, and he's exactly what he was. Yeah,
it was indeed. 2 hat-tricks we've had in our commentary games on Talksport 2 this afternoon. Callum Lang earlier on for Portsmouth.
In future, Faye, I think the narrative is going to be there's going to be goals here today. It's going to be entertaining.
Yes, that's a very good idea. I like that. It's all about the semantics, isn't it? And also not just putting ourselves immediately under pressure. Right, that was our man of the match from today's game with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.